honestly, guys, we showed out. In the $250 draft we had last night, it was a masterpiece. I feel like we have some momentum going. So we are going to hop into another high-stakes fantasy football draft today. Now, this first one that we are in is just a private draft, $3 draft. Going to be a warm-up for anybody who likes hanging out with us in this live stream. We pulled the 107. This draft's going to start in about 20 seconds. But I think this is going to be just a pretty good practice round, so we don't end up burning $250 later on in this live stream when we get into our next fantasy football draft, where clearly there'll be some serious stakes in the line. But you know what I have to ask from you guys? You crushed it yesterday. We had like 1,500 likes on the live stream yesterday, and it looks like we may actually end up hitting 90K subscribers. Go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. If we hit 90,000 subscribers, these live streams I do every single night that are 3-4 hours of me drafting fantasy football teams, we'll do a 24-hour one. I don't know how, but I'll find a way. But now, this looks like a very standard start. Just based off of ADP, this is exactly what you should come to expect on Underdog right here with these first 4 players off the board. Hopefully, we get someone mixing it up. No, Stephon Diggs is going to be our guy here at 7. Now, trust me, I get it. I understand where you're maybe coming from, telling me to go with the Derrick Henry instead. If this was not a league where I did not have to start 3 wide receivers every single week, then I'd agree with you. We'd go Derrick Henry. But anybody who watches this every single night knows exactly why we're going to go Stephon Diggs here, because on Underdog, Josh Jacobs goes in the 7th. Antonio Gibson goes in the 8th. Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes in the 8th. Oh, boys. I don't want to be drafting wide receivers in those ranges. We want to be taking some running backs. But we have a ton of people out in the live chat right now. Thank y'all so much. Derek says, what is this? This was just a $3 private draft that we got. So now that the puppy contest is closed, we are going to get the majority of our drafts on this live stream, private drafts with just members of this stream. So it should be significantly easier for y'all to be able to get in. So how it will work is I will send out that link in the live chat when we're preparing to get into our next draft, and I'll label it $10 draft here, or $3 draft here, $5 draft here, $25, whatever we all decide that we want to do. It will be clearly labeled that way, and it won't be one of those tournaments on Underdog Fantasy. Instead, it will just be you drafting with myself and 10 other people here with the stream. But CeeDee Lamb goes 13. So really, there aren't too many surprises. Joe Mixon, this is definitely early for his ADP, but I mean, I think everybody watching this, including myself, is a pretty big fan on Joe Mixon this upcoming season, so it shouldn't be that much of a surprise to see Mixon here at the end of the first. Like, we just recorded our top 24 overall rankings video that comes out tomorrow. Mixon's pretty damn high in that. Now we have Deebo Samuel going 16. Let's see what we'll have on the way back. I'm assuming we're going to go with the running back, whether that's Swift or Aaron Jones. I'll let this team on the clock decide. Now, what we don't have to worry about is, because this is not a tournament style draft and all we have to worry about is beating these 11 other owners, I don't give a damn if this is a very common combination through the first 2 rounds here with Stephon Diggs and Aaron Jones. Looking at Aaron Jones from a raw points per game perspective this upcoming season, I am very excited. I think that he is a running back floor if he maintains that role in the receiving game. And if he maintains the role in the red zone and A.J. Dillon is not the goal line running back here in Green Bay, then I think that Aaron Jones has the upside to be a top 3 running back in fantasy. Okay. So let's go through. We have Mark Andrews, 21, Mike Evans, 22. Oh, Jay, and pointing out that Scissors is in the draft. I didn't even know that Scissors is out here with us. Scissors went 12, then 13 on the way back around. And we got some big news. I'm pretty sure that everybody saw this, or at least everybody who follows anything has saw this. But Scissors announced on Twitter, on YouTube. I saw it on YouTube. But if you're not subscribed to Scissors YouTube, you need to fix your life. That he is back to posting. So I've sent him a couple notes on how to become a pretty big YouTuber. I've tried to show him the way. He thinks he's now smart enough to go out from under our wing and to go pursue the dream of being a YouTuber. And of course, all jokes. Look up Scissors on YouTube. Scissors has like millions and millions of subscribers. Way, way bigger than we are. But Tyreek Hill goes 24. T. Higgins, 25 here at the 2-3 turn. Nick Chubb. Okay, so this team going to go with the hyper fragile build, deciding to take Nick Chubb there, pick 26. I mean, I think that's a beautiful start if you're worried about a Melvin Gordon foot injury. If you think Melvin Gordon's going to miss some time here, I mean, Javonte Williams could be a top 10 running back. Nick Chubb, in my opinion, is one of the best value of these drafts, period. If you're going to be getting him in the third round, very interesting start. But we're about to be on the clock. DJ Moore goes 29. So whenever you take Stephon Diggs in the first, you're pretty much locked into going Josh Allen here. I haven't been as excited about taking Allen as of late because in a lot of these drafts, you're able to get either Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes falling to you in the public lobby. However, since I'm drafting with members of the flock here, I'd be very surprised if Lamar Jackson ever fell to us in the 5th round. So I don't think I'm going to be looking back on this and kicking ourselves for taking Josh Allen here. So let's go ahead. Let's take the elite level quarterback. Now we only have to draft 2 in this league. And real quick, also, if you don't know where we are drafting, if you've been living under a rock, if you haven't heard me say this 1 million times by now, we are drafting on Underdog Fantasy. The best place to draft. We do it every single night. There's 0 time commitment during the season when you draft on Underdog Fantasy. So it doesn't even matter if you like drafting somewhere else. If you're going to draft somewhere else for your friend's main league, hell, you can draft on Underdog as well and then focus in on that other league during the season. And when you go and sign up for Underdog Fantasy, you can get into some drafts with us. You can get your first deposit matched dollar for dollar up to $100. And you'll get our 2022 rankings and 2022 fantasy football draft guide with legitimately just a $10 deposit on Underdog. And now that we're just doing private drafts from here on out, outside of those high stakes drafts that we'll possibly try to hop in a big dog a little later on, it's going to be much easier for y'all to be able to get in these drafts with us. Now we have Hollywood Brown going 38, Allen Robinson 39. Allen Robinson never falls further than this. And it is funny that like you have Cooper Kupp sliding from that wide receiver 1 slot and you do have Allen Robinson rising. People are worried with the Stafford injury when it comes to Kupp, but they are going to be fine with it when it comes to Allen Robinson, I guess. So Jerry Jeudy going off the board, pick 40. I guess at this point, we are probably going to be looking with either Ezekiel Elliott or Terry McLaurin here. So Lamar Jackson goes. So if we're sitting here and mapping this out, I think if this was a tournament style draft, maybe we'd be more excited about taking the wide receiver when we have to start 3 every single week. In reality, if Ezekiel Elliott's falling to us in the middle of the 4th round, I think we kind of have to go through. I think we have to take Ezekiel Elliott. The workload is going to give him a decently high floor. Derek says, man, I hate it when there isn't a puppy. Yeah, I probably made the mistake of max entering Best Ball Mania on Underdog too soon. Now, I did it because I think you have the best chance to win Best Ball Mania if you enter in before we have a bunch of different injury news and etc. before the ADP is really set and accurate. So I max entered for that reason, but at the same time, gosh, I'm going to be missing those drafts, especially when I'm at the gym. JBR says, do y'all remember when Mason had to evacuate his apartment midstream? Oh, that's a hilarious call out, my friend. I'm assuming that 99.9% of people watching this have no idea what you are talking about. But a couple of years ago, guys, right when we first started live streaming every single night, I went live. And then about 5 minutes into it, we had the fire alarm going off, and it was about the loudest thing. It was terrifying, but it was a pretty funny moment on a live stream. Now we have Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes here going off the board 45, 46. So this is what we were talking about. Whenever I'm drafting with members of the flock, I'm not necessarily expecting to be able to get the value of a potential Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, or Justin Herbert in the 5th round. So in this style of draft, I think I'm probably just going to be more willing to go ahead, take Josh Allen in the 3rd because I don't feel like I'm missing out on too strong of quarterback value a little bit later on. Obviously, Josh Allen is the quarterback 1 in fantasy just based off the rushing upside he has combined with the passing volume. Very few quarterbacks can get there in a way that Josh Allen can. Okay, now we have Brandon Cooks 53, David Montgomery 52. Atlas says, drafted with you earlier around 6 p.m. It was a pretty good draft. Okay. If y'all drafted with me around 6 p.m., guys, I have to take Gabriel Davis. I don't like the Gabriel Davis value in a regular draft, but if we're looking at Gabriel Davis falling 12 picks past his ADP and we're getting him as a double stack with Stephon Diggs, this is the perfect draft. This is the perfect spot to take Gabriel Davis. So, excuse me, I'm not a massive fan of that Gabriel Davis price usually, but going back to what I was saying, if you were in a draft with me on Underdog in the public lobby at about 6 p.m., there were a couple of those drafts that I botched, but I was drafting like 9 or 10 teams at once. Puppy was about to close. It was 99% filled. I had all 3 monitors with Underdog drafts. My phone was just going bzz, 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 because I was on the clock nonstop. Like, if I drafted with you around that time and we ended up making a horrible selection, there were a few of them. Just understand why. Obviously, I'm a bad drafter as well. Okay, so now we have Bateman, Darnell Mooney, Chris Godwin, Kyler Murray all going off the board. This is what you should come to expect. This is usually the range where you're going to see some of these wide receivers. And in those drafts that I was getting in on Underdog earlier today, I noticed, I didn't know if there was some news that I missed. I don't know if it was just like the lobby at that time. I noticed a lot of people passing on David Montgomery until about like pick 70. Like, Montgomery was falling to the late 6th and Elijah Mitchell was falling to the 7th round. There were multiple of those drafts that I had going at once. And I had too many drafts going where I couldn't even check Twitter to see if there was an injury or something that happened. I was just relying on the Underdog reports. But I had multiple drafts where I got Elijah Mitchell in the 7th round. Let me know if something happened with Elijah Mitchell, because I haven't been able to check over the past few hours. But yeah, Elijah Mitchell still available here. And we were able to pick him up in some of those drafts earlier in the 7th round. Okay, Drake London, 65. Let's go ahead. Let's take Elijah Moore. Very boring selection, just at the top of ADP like we've done every single time. I mean, it is boring, but with Elijah Moore, he fits our roster construction. You're looking at a wide receiver that did have an elite level breakout down the stretch his rookie season. So I think that we could be looking at a receiver that going into year 2, while yes, is still in a pretty bad situation if we can assume that potentially Gabriel Davis is going to end up being... I'm sorry, not Gabriel Davis. Still on my mind that we had to draft him in this draft. But Garrett Wilson ends up being the wide receiver 1 for the New York Jets. I don't necessarily expect that you're going to have good quarterback play or efficient quarterback play from Zach Wilson. So if you're drafting Elijah Moore here, well, yeah, he was like a top 5 wide receiver in the second half of the season on a points per game basis. He's still in a bad situation. Like, I understand why some people would want to look at this Elijah Moore selection and go, oh my gosh, it's the best pick ever. Great value. And I can understand why some people are going, Mason, you just drafted the 2nd receiver in a Zach Wilson offense. What the hell are you doing? Now, Landry says, you're running back 2, question mark. Our running back 2 in this draft isn't too bad. Our running back 2 is Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, I think with Zeke, you do have some question marks. I think you do have some red flags, of course. That's why we're getting him in the 4th round, and we're not having to draft Ezekiel Elliott in the 1st round. Like, he's been drafted every single year outside of, I believe, year 2 is when he suffered that 6-game suspension. I believe that year in high-stakes drafts, you had Ezekiel Elliott falling to the 2nd, but keep in mind, that was back in 2017. I could be forgetting at this point. Okay, so Adam Thielen, 72, Amari Cooper, 71. And y'all know, y'all have had to deal with me long enough. Last night in the live stream, y'all had to deal with me for too long, going after the Cleveland Browns, taking Amari Cooper, taking Nick Chubb, and even taking Deshaun Watson at the end of the draft. But that's because those were tournaments. We are really incentivized to do everything we could for optimization in weeks 15, 16, 17. Here in these private drafts, it's just who can score the most points throughout the course of the season. So don't worry, you don't have to deal with me taking Deshaun Watson here. Even if Deshaun Watson was sitting there in the 18th round, we wouldn't draft. Chris says, in Yahoo, Taysom Hill is listed as a quarterback / tight end. Is he worth playing in my tight end slot? Yeah, so on Underdog, it's the same thing. Taysom Hill is listed as a tight end. And if you think about it, being listed as a quarterback / tight end, it's the same exact thing as being listed at tight end. It's not like you're like, oh, okay, who do I want to start this week? Do I want to start the combination of Aaron Rodgers at quarterback and Cole Kmet at tight end? Or do I want to start the combination of Taysom Hill at quarterback and Cole? No, you would probably rather just plug in Taysom Hill almost regardless of the tight end position. You're never going to start him over someone like even Aaron Rodgers, who's a low-end quarterback 1. So, real quick, I'm sorry. I'm thrown off here. I guess we're going to go with Antonio Gibson. We're going to get a running back that can have a role starting at the very beginning of the season with Antonio Gibson. He does have some strong points on his profile as well as some red flags. But going back to what I was saying, being listed as a quarterback tight end is the same exact thing because you're never even going to start Taysom Hill at the quarterback position over whoever else you would have there, even if he was starting at quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. if you could throw him in at tight end, just because the expected points that you're going to get on a week-to-week basis at the tight end position compared to that replacement level quarterback, of course, is going to be a massive gap. Unless maybe, just maybe, you would consider it if like Kelsey was your tight end and your quarterback one was like Cousins. Then maybe at that point it becomes a conversation. But then you probably go through and slide him into your flex spot, no? But Joe Burrow goes 81. I mean, I think that's great value with Burrow. It's very difficult for us to take Joe Burrow here when we took Josh Allen in the third. I feel like when we take Allen in the third, we kind of are locked into betting all in on this Buffalo Bills offense. Like if Josh Allen gets hurt, if this Buffalo Bills offense disappoints in any way imaginable, hell, this team's already trash. The team would be dust. We took Stephon Diggs in the first round. We took Josh Allen in the third, and we took Gabriel Davis in the fourth. So if Allen doesn't have a top 3 quarterback season, this team loses regardless. So it doesn't make too much sense there for us to take Joe Burrow over a running back like Antonio Gibson. Okay. So Liam asking how to get the draft guide. Okay, so if you went through the link in the description of the video, the link through the description of the live stream to get our 2022 fantasy football draft guide by making a $10 deposit on Underdog. It may be confusing because the second that you make that $10 deposit on Underdog with promo code FLOCK, it is going to be immediately matched to $20. You'll see that you have $20 in your account that second. But the second part of our promotion where you actually get our draft guide, you get our rankings, that's just going to take a little bit of time. You're going to have to be patient. It usually takes about 1 to 2 hours. And then the email is going to be sent from Underdog Fantasy to the email that you signed up with Underdog Fantasy with. And that email will have our 2022 Fantasy Football Draft Guide and our 2022 Fantasy Football Rankings attached. And you can just download it directly from there. If you don't see it in your immediate email, check your spam. I know for some people it has gone to their spam. Okay, so Hunter Renfrow goes 88. What was the news on Wilson? Why is Russell Wilson falling this far? May not play. I would imagine a 10-year vet shouldn't be playing first week of the preseason. We just talked about why we decided to go ahead and to pass on Joe Burrow there in the last round in favor of Antonio Gibson. But I mean, here, if we're going to be looking at this with Russell Wilson, given the best ball aspect, he could slide into our starting lineup occasionally. He is someone that has, obviously, an elite level ceiling. So let's go ahead. Let's take Russell Wilson at pick 90. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a smash pick, but we are getting him about 11 selections behind his ADP. And possibly if we pair up Allen and Russell Wilson on the same roster, some of these other quarterbacks like Dak Prescott are going to slide up draft boards. But if this was not best ball, if this was a regular league, of course you take Josh Allen and you don't draft another guy regardless of what the value looks like. But because it's best ball, I think there is some consideration for it. Falony says, let's go flock up. Yes, sir. Flock up. Thank you for coming out here. And I'm really hoping that the next draft that we can get will be the $250 draft on Underdog. So what I'm going to do is, of course, let's first hit 350 likes on the live stream. If we hit 350 likes on the stream, we will go ahead. We will fire up another draft after this one. So make sure you go down there, drop a like on the live stream. But if we do hit that and we fire up our next draft, which I'm assuming that we will, we are going to go and try to enter in the $250 draft on Underdog. And if there are like 10 spots open in the draft room, 11 spots, 9 spots open, if the majority of it's empty, then I'm just going to create a private draft and I'll send the private draft link out in the live chat for everybody. But if it's about to be filled, then we'll get a $250 draft. So it's either going to be a cheap, another practice draft, or the next draft will be the high stakes one. Now, we're going to be doing a ton of drafts tonight. I'm assuming if the live stream goes how the past few have, which I'm assuming they will 100% at least get one of those high stakes, one of those $250 drafts under. Bar Down says, just watched your draft combine video, elite talent. Oh, dear God. It is one of the Earth's biggest mysteries. Like, legitimately, if I had to rank the Earth's biggest mysteries, probably the pyramids of Egypt, sitting at 2 or 3. I would say 2, the Loch Ness Monster, and 1, how I am not in the NFL right now. Like, did you see my NFL Combine video from a couple of years ago? Like, are you kidding me? How the hell am I not in the NFL at this point? 160 pounds, rep 225, 12 times on bench. Like, you kidding me? You kidding me? Keeping me out of the league? But LOL Jesus, a best streamer. Love you, man. No, thank you so much for hanging out with us every single night, man. You know I appreciate you. Okay, but MVS goes 99. Chase Claypool 98. With the practice reports of Claypool, you've actually seen him falling down draft boards a bit here. I mean, I've actually was able to get Chase Claypool in one of those drafts where I was just in 10 drafts at once earlier today, so it was complete chaos. But this was another situation. He fell to me at like pick 120, and I couldn't go to Twitter to search up to see if Chase Claypool got hurt or something. So I had to read the little thing, and it said, oh, dear God, I guess he's dealing with some kind of... We still took him at 120. But here he goes before MVS. He goes before Tyler Lockett. Tyler Boyd off the board. Let's go ahead. Let's take James Cook. I think that James Cook is going to have a role in the receiving game for the Buffalo Bills. I think he's the running back that you want Buffalo. I think this is an elite level offense. And if this isn't an elite level offense and we're wrong about that, hell, I've lost this league already. If this offense is not a top 3 offense in the NFL, hell, I should probably just go ahead and throw this team directly in the trash. But I want to be fine betting that Buffalo is going to be very good. So when we take Diggs in the first, Allen in the third, Gabriel Davis in the fifth, let's take James Cook here. If it was a tournament draft where we needed to have that elite level spike week ceiling in week 17, honestly think getting the 4th player from the same team is probably not going to be the best thing. But this isn't that tournament draft. This is just who can score the most points out of this 12-team league. Okay. Nick says, you know we're getting 4+ drafts in tonight. Guys, if y'all hung out with us until midnight last night, did we get 6 or 7 drafts going? I can't exactly remember. But, dear God, we got 6 or 7 drafts going last night. The live stream had like 1,500 likes on it. It was like it was the craziest live stream I've ever had. It was unbelievable. But Zach Ertz goes here 107. Yeah, a lot of people spammed the chat that we got 7. Yeah, Luke says it was definitely 7. Mr. Steph made it to the end. Yeah, even though he was on the East Coast, dear God. On the East Coast, what, it was like 1? Yeah, that was crazy. Freddie says, congrats on 75,000 subscribers. Did we get there? Guys, I honestly said 90,000 subscribers for us to do the 24-hour live stream because I didn't think we could get it. But yeah, looking at our sub count, it looks like we may be hitting 90 because obviously now you have all the casual drafters coming in, the casual redraft players. ER7 says, Flock, Chick-fil-A spicy sandwich or Wendy's spicy? Are you joking with me? You would put a Wendy's chicken sandwich in the same question as a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich? I don't even need to answer that question. I do not need to answer that. Okay, so now, did something happen in Buffalo? Dawson Knox falling as well. Y'all know I'm personally not a massive Dawson Knox fan, and even though we've gone all in on the Buffalo Bills offense, even if Knox were to fall to us here, pick 114, I don't know if I'm taking Dawson Knox because if I look at this, we already have Diggs, Gabriel Davis, James Cook. Like, is this supposed to be the best offense of all time? Is that how we would get there with the Dawson Knox selection? I don't necessarily know if I can do that. So Cole Kmet goes. Honestly, kind of happy to see it. We're going to go ahead. We are going to take Cordell Patterson. We can't take either quarterback. We already have the combination of Josh Allen and Russell Wilson. I think Cordell Patterson will be a very high floor running back that if we're just trying to go through the entire season, score as many points as possible in weeks 1 through 17 in this league because we don't need to be worrying about that fantasy football playoff stretch in weeks 15, 16, 17. I think Cordell Patterson is a natural fit here. Now, it does make it a little bit awkward. Like, do we go ahead and do we draft a 6th running back? I don't necessarily know the answer to that question. But regardless, Cordell Patterson, fine pick here, fine pick. Joseph says, what are your thoughts on taking Nick Chubb as a running back 3? Love it. Love it. Josh says, why is Cordell Patterson falling so late? There are a couple red flags with Cordell Patterson. So he was the running back 15 on a points per game basis last year. And I'm drafting a ton of them, even though I don't have him ranked anywhere near running back 15. I have him ranked as a mid running back 3, but he's falling here as a running back 4 in fantasy football drafts. People are projecting that the Atlanta Falcons are going to be the worst offense in the NFL, or at least close to the worst. Maybe Seattle's going to give them a run for their money. On top of it, they bring in Tyler Algier, and Cordell Patterson's a 31-year-old running back. Like, I'm out here talking crap on Derrick Henry for being 28, and Cordell Patterson's, 31? And if you go through and look at Cordell Patterson's career, last season was an extreme outlier from what you usually have. There are reports from the coaching staff this offseason saying, oh, yeah, Cordell Patterson, he can't get the same role we had last year. I mean, he's not meant for that role. We're not going to give it to him, yada, yada, yada. So there are a ton of reasons people are not drafting Cordell Patterson, but I'm looking at just the raw amount of touches that are available with the departure of Mike Davis and a lot of other receivers from this offense. And I'm saying that, hell, I think even if Cordell Patterson does see a significant step back, even if this is a pretty bad offense overall, he can easily still be a top 24 running back on a per game basis. Okay. Grant says, do you know if Underdog will ever have the license for Australia so we can play down under? I wish I was an expert on DFS, fantasy, sports contest, legal law, and how that varies state to state, country to country. Sadly, I am not. That's way over my pay grade, my friend. Way over. Like I can barely draft an adequate fantasy football team. Barely. And most people would argue that I can't even draft an okay fantasy football team. There's no way in hell I'm going to be able to give any insight on legal proceedings with sports betting. Fallini says, I think they just got it in Australia. I did not hear that. I'll look it up, but I doubt it. Okay, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay is the thumbnail of this live stream, so probably pretty fitting for us to take Kenny Golladay when we can. B is going to be a wide receiver that's getting paid to be a top dog in his offense. Now, I don't necessarily know if that's exactly going to happen, but this is a wide receiver that back in 2017, he was a top 10 guy on a per game basis. Now, of course, 2019, he was drafted in 2017, but of course, that was in the context of a Detroit Lions offense that have had Matthew Stafford playing at a very high level as Matthew Stafford always does, and at the same time had almost nobody else in that offense. That was the rookie season of TJ Hawkinson. TJ Hawkinson missed time during that year, and he was a rookie tight end. Yeah, he was a pretty good rookie tight end, but it's not like he's Kyle Pitts out here. LOLG says Chubb was overrated, now underrated. I agree with you, my man. I mean, I think if you're going to go through and look at Chubb's ADP in the first round over the past few years, makes no sense that he's going in the third now. It made no sense when he was going in the first. We made video after video after video telling people not to draft Nick Chubb in the first round because while he was the best committee running back in the NFL and arguably one of the most talented pure rushing running backs in the NFL, at the end of the day, he was a committee running back in a bad offense. But now there's the outside chance that he has an elite level quarterback for the second half of the season. There's an outside chance, I'm not saying these things are likely, but they're in the range of outcomes, that Kareem Hunt's moved off the team. So he could be placed into the best situation of his career, and you're getting him at a cheaper price than any other season outside of his rookie year when he had a split with Carlos Hyde. But Alberto goes here 133, paired up with Tua Tagovailoa at 132. Interesting to see that this team on the turn, Scissors, decides to go Albert O over Gesicki. Actually, no, Scissors on the live stream the other day did say that his bold call was Albert O was the top 8 tight end. But let's go through. Let's check out Scissors' team here and what he's done. So he has at running back, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Melvin Gordon. At wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, Sky Moore, Russell Gage. And then at quarterback, he has the combo of Jalen Hurts and then obviously stacking up Jalen Waddle with Tua Tagovailoa. I think it's a very solid construction. Maybe a couple of those names wouldn't be the guys that I go with, but obviously you can't argue with the construction behind it. Okay. Derek says, Mason, have you ever been to Kansas City? No. I was pretty good at baseball growing up, and I got invited to like this. Wherever the College World Series is, I think it's, no, Omaha. That's Nebraska. What the hell am I talking about? Yeah, I went there for a baseball tournament when I was younger, but definitely, I don't know if we drove through Kansas. I'm an idiot, so maybe we did. I don't know. But let's scroll down. We get Jacoby Myers here. Jacoby Myers will be a target hog in New England. The issue is the touchdown rate is going to be laughably low for the New England Patriots. But in this format in particular, hell, if Jacoby Myers can just go out there, if he can soak up 6, 7, 8 targets, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be a fine selection whenever we just need another wide receiver. It would have been great to get either Irv Smith Jr. or Pat Freiermuth making it to us to pick 138. I think if you're looking at like Pat Freiermuth at 137, what's the real difference between Freiermuth at 137 and Dawson Knox, who has an ADP of 104? Or Cole Kmet going to that same team at 113? Like, I definitely prefer like Pat Freiermuth at 137 over Cole Kmet at 113. Derek says it was 3 hours away, but yeah. So now we have Gainwell 142, DJ Chark, George Pickens. Josh says, so Jacoby Myers over Devontae Parker. I mean, if I'm looking at the two wide receivers, I would say that Devontae Parker does have more overall touchdown upside based on where he operates on the football field. But Jacoby Myers probably leads this team in targets. So it really is that dance. Maybe you want to use a tie break. If you're playing in a full PPR format, you go Jacoby Myers for the passing volume. If you're playing in a non-PPR format, you go Devontae Parker for the touchdown upside. Let me see exactly how much I've drafted these guys. Of course, on Underdog, you can go through and you can look at your exact exposures. So I have Devontae Parker in 7% of our leagues. I don't know if you can see that. And we have Jacoby Myers in 8%. So yeah, I guess we have been taking Myers. I mean, slightly more, about equal. Myers just falls later. Yeah. So we have Gerald Everett going 148. Let's pull this back around. And if we're looking at wide receivers, if this was that tournament style draft where we need to prioritize that production weeks 15, 16, 17, you better believe I'm looking at my guy, Jameson Williams. Maybe not necessarily at this pick, but I'm going to make our selection here, and then I'm going to sweat it out and really hope that we get Jameson Williams on the way back around. However, because points in week 1 matter just as much as points in week 17 in this format, someone like Jameson Williams that I may be prioritizing for a tournament-style context where we need to have that elite playoff ceiling, he's not going to be nearly as interesting here. In reality, in this draft, I think we just make the boring play, some pick that I probably wouldn't make in a draft where you actually need to worry about the fantasy football playoffs. We go ahead, we take Jarvis Landry. We take someone that we were confident that they were going to have that target volume, very similar to what we were speaking on with Jacoby Myers a little bit earlier on. So yeah, it's interesting. We are put in a somewhat difficult situation. But I think we just have to continue to stack up wide receivers with targets here. I think that's the goal. Once we have at running back Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, Antonio Gibson, James Cook, Cordell Patterson, we are just in the mode of this draft. Let's stack a wide receiver after receiver after receiver after receiver, all in a row. Caesar says, what do you think of my team at pick 4? Okay, let's go through. Let's check out Caesar at 4. He decided to go Cooper Kupp in the first, standard pick. Andrews in the second, great pick. Keenan Allen in the third. Yeah, I personally prefer Keenan Allen over Mike Williams. I prefer Keenan Allen over Michael Pittman. I think that's a fantastic selection. Taking Justin Herbert at pick 45. Sometimes I would go ahead. I would roll the dice that you could potentially get Justin Herbert on the way back around to you in the 5th round. But when you already had Lamar Jackson off the board in the 4th, when you know that maybe you're drafting with a bunch of people that are going to value grabbing that elite level quarterback at the 4 or 5 turn, probably need to go ahead and just take a Justin Herbert there to just go ahead and get the correlation with Keenan Allen while you still have the chance. And then if we're looking at the selection of David Montgomery in the 5th, I don't necessarily know what I think about it. Just because if we're going to go through, if we're going to look with the context of how these underdog drafts go and what that third wide receiver starting spot's going to do to you, look at some of the wide receivers that you're going to take later on. So if we're looking at, say, a Tyler Lockett at pick 100, what would you prefer? And I'm just speaking out loud here. Let me come to the conclusion together. We can all do it out loud. Would you prefer the combination of, say, either a Gabriel Davis or a Brandon Cooks at pick 52, and then later on at pick 100, you go James Cook at the running back position? So you would say have a Brandon Cooks and James Cook. Or would you rather have David Montgomery and Tyler Lockett? Now that I actually speak this out loud, I probably prefer David Montgomery and Tyler Lockett. Jacobs at 69, I'm fine with. Kadarius Toney at 76. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you probably just get sniped on these guys that you really wanted. Guys like Devonta Smith, 75, Brandon Ayuk, 73. And then after that, Chase Edmonds, Rondell Moore. I like Rondell Moore more in this format if you're expecting that he does get the majority of that production at the beginning portion of the season before Hopkins comes back. But crap, we are back up on the clock here. I think that we just have to go through. We have to take Robert Tonyan. We don't have a tight end yet. I think if you're looking at some of these tight ends like Robert Tonyan and the guys that were going before them, they're very comparable. So let's grab them. I don't even want to make the argument, oh, we have correlation with Aaron Jones. No, it doesn't necessarily matter. I think with Robert Tonyan, this was a player that I probably didn't take in a single draft last year because he was the clearest avoid of all time. It was the easiest thing ever. You were looking at a player coming off a league high touchdown rate that was 100% going to come down. And his overall volume was capped in the offense because he was playing with Davante Adams, who, of course, can get to 30% of his team's target share. But now if we're going to go ahead, if we're going to look at Robert Tonyan, you are getting a tight end instead that no longer has Davante Adams in that offense. Is coming off a pretty disappointing season overall, mainly due to the injury, and he's the same exact player that he was. Maybe he's dealing with an injury, so you're slightly concerned with that. I think Tonyan's not going to be on the PUP. I think he should be good to go. Valani says Kittle's going to have a big season. I have a lot of money invested into George Kittle, so I'm hoping. I love Kittle. I love Lance. We've been talking about them for a very long time. Two of my favorite players in the NFL. Y'all know I don't have a favorite team in the NFL, but if I'm going to root for a team this year, I probably do go ahead and root for the 49ers. Just root for our guy, Trey Lance. I mean, I fought so many people for so long with Trey Lance versus Justin Fields. If Lance comes out and crushes it, I'll feel good. We'll feel real good. Okay. So we have Tyrion Davis-Price off the board here, 169. Van Jefferson, 170. And real quick, guys, it looks like we are 60 likes away from firing up another draft. So, of course, if you want another draft, go down there, drop a like on the live stream. Let's hit 350. Let's get another one going. Possibly get a $250 draft going after this. If we don't get a $250 draft going after this, we will set up a private draft for the people in the live stream. I'll set up like a $5 draft, and then I'll send that link out in the live chat for anybody who wants to join. Okay, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a tight end here. It's going to either be Tyler Higbee or Noah Fant. Let's see what they leave us. We need another tight end. We're taking 3 in this league, just so hopefully we can cycle through like Robert Tonyan, Tyler Higbee, and Noah Fant, 3 of these guys, and just get a spike week every single week, and we should be good to go. Okay, Matt Ryan, 173. And just to let y'all know, Hendricks is going back-to-back. I don't know if you've heard, but Hendricks is going back-to-back. Now, Matt Ryan, 173. I'm assuming that we end up coming away with Tyler Higbee because this team right before us, that team right before us already had 2 tight ends. They were Dalton Schultz and Dawson Knox as well. So we're going to get Tyler Higbee. I mean, speaking of a player that was one of the most polarizing tight ends I've ever seen in fantasy football. Like, guys, please, let me know if you remember this. Do you remember the end of the 2019 season? The end of the 2019 season is when Cooper Kupp, I believe, went down with the torn ACL. But what I know for a damn fact is that Tyler Higbee over the last 6 weeks that season was the tight end 1 overall in fantasy and had a stretch that historically only truly special players like Rob Gronkowski and Travis Kelce were able to come up close to that 6-game stretch. One of the most polarizing players in fantasy. I was, of course, the boring guy saying, oh, the guy who came from nowhere probably is not someone we want to be investing into the next year. But that's just because I'm boring and I'm the wet blanket in every situation. But let me bring up that game log again, because that was like an entire summer of people just going back and forth arguing about Tyler Higbee. I think it was 2019. Let me double check. I'm almost certain it was 2019. Yeah, so 2019, the final 5 weeks. I thought it was 6. I'm sorry. The final 5 weeks for Tyler Higbee. 8 targets, 7 receptions, 107 receiving yards. 11 targets, 7 receptions, 116 receiving yards. 14 targets, 12 receptions, 111 receiving yards. 11 targets, 9 receptions, 104 receiving yards. In the final week, 12 targets, 8 receptions, 84. It's like, that's wide receiver 1 production. Now, of course, it just happened for a small stretch. Of course, you can't project that going forward, but it is funny to bring that up just because it was one of the most monumental things of that 2019 season, probably in fantasy over the past 3 years, if I'm going to be honest. Okay, so we need to be drafting 3 tight ends in this league. How excited are y'all for Evan Ingram? Please spam the chat real quick. Would you like Evan Ingram here, or do you think Logan Thomas in the 18th round is the exact same thing? The issue is, if we weren't to go with Evan Ingram, exactly who do I draft? What we would probably do is take our last wide receiver, who is Marvin Jones, then in the following round go running back, and then in the last round take tight end. It looks like most people are saying Logan Thomas. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead. We are going to take Marvin Jones here as the 7th wide receiver in this draft. And then I think after that, we will go ahead. We'll fire up a running back in the next round and a tight end in the last one. But we did hit 350 likes in the stream. Of course, thank y'all so much for going down there, showing us some love. Y'all know I appreciate you. So what I'm going to do after we make our next pick, and we're just going to see if we have that running back value making it to us or if we want to take a tight end to this next round. And after we decide that, we will go ahead. We will just fire up the next draft. I'll queue up whatever our last position is. And that next draft that I'm going to do, I'm going to get in the $250 underdog draft lobby. And if that draft is about to fill, then we will draft there. If there are like 11 spots open, I'm going to immediately leave it and then just start a private draft with everyone. Okay, let's scroll this down. So after we take Marvin Jones, you do have a decent amount of wide receivers going off the board. So it would be pretty fun if we end up taking Marvin Jones here, pick 186, and then we end up getting Evan Ingram on the way back around in the 17. I don't think it's that big of a deal with the Isaiah Pacheco hype coming out of Kansas City. I think Jerick McKinnon, of course, is a lot less appealing here in the 17th round than what he was. I used to actually take a decent amount of Jerick McKinnon, if I'm going to be honest with y'all. But we do want 6 running backs because this is a private draft and we don't have to worry about just having the highest ceiling possible for those last 3 weeks. So if we also are just going to be drafting in the context that we only have to beat these 11 other owners and we don't have to look for that large field contest as well, I'm probably not going to be interested at all in a Taysom Hill in this format, where maybe you would be interested in him in a tournament style draft. Evan Ingram off the board. That team, I think, only had 1 tight end. I could be wrong, but I believe that team only had tight end. I mean, 1 tight end. No, they had 3. That was their 3rd. Okay, so it looks like these guys may slide up draft boards real quick. Now, Garoppolo goes 195. Gus Edwards, 196. So Corey Davis falling like a rock here. If I knew Corey Davis was going to make it back to us at 199, what I probably would have done is we probably would have just gone ahead and we would have taken Evan Ingram in the last round. Taking Corey Davis in this one had the correlation there with Elijah Moore. But I think we're done at 7 wide receivers given the context of this draft. So yeah, let's go ahead. Let's take Dearness Johnson, and then I'm going to queue up our last tight end. Let's take Dearness Johnson, queue up our last tight end here. Just with the off chance that you do end up getting a trade. For Kareem Hunt. Sorry, okay. We just got in the $250 underdog draft. There are 5 spots open. I'm going to wait 30 seconds and we'll see how fast this is filling. If it's just sitting like this, we're going to leave. But it looks like some people are here to take our money. It looks like people are coming in here now. Oh, boys, this is going to be pretty damn scary. Like I said, because you have no time commitment on Underdog Fantasy during the season, if you're looking at a pure ROI perspective for like the best fantasy football drafters in the world, and I want you to know, I do not put myself in this bucket. I'm saying like the best of the best, the cream of the crop. This is where they would draft from a pure ROI perspective. So it is definitely scary coming into this. And it looks like we have a decent amount of people from the flock out here. Derek sitting there at 11. Chi-Town True is a part of the flock at 10. We have Kingview Mead, a part of the flock at 2. Billy Joe, a part of the flock at 1. Rorschach, I don't know if they're a part of the flock. I see their name all the time in these underdog drafts. Maybe they're just drafting the public lobby and I'm mistaking. LOL Hot Dogs, I think, is a part of the... This is going to be scary. This is going to be scary. But what is not scary is we're picking at 5. We have, in my opinion, one of the best spots to be choosing from. We're probably going to end up with a Jamar Chase, but if we don't end up with Jamar Chase, hell, what that means is we ended up getting Cooper Kupp. We ended up getting Justin Jefferson on the way back around in the 5th round. So this will be very exciting. And of course, if y'all have not done so already, go down there, drop a like in this live stream, subscribe to the channel. We do this every single night. Nobody is live streaming 3-4 hours every single night, real money drafts. Again, is anybody else dedicating their lives to this like y'all? Like we are, all of us, because y'all are out here every single night with us as well. Okay. But Justin Jefferson goes at 2 to Kingview Meat here. He decides to pass on Christian McCaffrey. So LOL Hot Dogs is going to end up getting CMC at pick 3. At least we can assume they go Christian McCaffrey. Maybe they mix it up and they decide to go Cooper Kupp, because remember on Underdog, you need to start 3 wide receivers. So these guys are inherently going to go up draft boards. That's why I'm so excited about getting a Jamar Chase at pick 5. He's taking this all the way down to the very end. Maybe this is just someone that isn't a part of the flock. He uploaded his own rankings here, and he's so confident with these rankings. He's just sitting in a big dog lobby at all times. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Okay. So we're going to get Jamar Chase at 5. You're always getting Jamar Chase at 5, essentially, if you want to. Some people take Austin Eckler. But on Underdog, you have to start 3 wide receivers. These wide receivers are going to slide up. We can get Josh Jacobs in the 7th round if we potentially want. And, of course, if you want to draft with us on Underdog Fantasy, we got to say this every draft. Make sure you go to the live chat, the description of the video, the comment section. Go through that link. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Get in some real money fantasy football drafts with us. We're doing it every single night until the start of the season. We're going to get a ton of private drafts going for only members of the live stream. That's going to be the majority of our drafts from here on out. And when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy, use promo code FLOCK. Of course, you can draft with us in the live stream, draft in the public lobby, draft with your friends. And you get a 100% deposit match up to $200. You get our 2022 fantasy football rankings, our 2022 fantasy football draft guide with just a $10 deposit. Okay. But we have Kelsey going at 12, Aaron Jones 13. So Aaron Jones going really early here to the Travis Kelce team. Interesting to see that. Najee Harris goes at 15. Najee Harris making it to the Devontae Adams team. Now, I think there will be a decent amount of combos of Devontae Adams and Najee Harris. Like if Devontae Adams, say, falls to 11 or falls to 12 and that team just there at the turn decides to take Najee. But you have to be very excited about getting Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon on the same roster. Of course, I'm very excited about what we are able to start out with Jamar Chase at 5. But if I could trade our 5 slot now that we know that the team at 9 ended up getting Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon, I would trade that in a heartbeat. Derek decides to go a little wide receiver heavy here with CeeDee Lamb at pick 11. Decides to go CeeDee Lamb over Travis Kelce here. Deebo Samuel at 18. Andrews 19. I don't know what to do. Let's go Kamara. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Alvin Kamara. I mean, I do want to go wide receiver heavy here, but the issue is the last wide receiver in this year is going to be Mike Evans. Mike Evans obviously plummeting down these drafts, and it's going to be more common throughout this contest to see the combo of Jamar Chase and Mike Evans than it will be Jamar Chase and Alvin Kamara. So let's take Kamara here. I've actually had Tyreek Hill fall to us in the 3rd round, so I don't necessarily feel the need to reach on Tyreek in the middle of the 2nd if we could potentially get him in the 3rd. So yeah, that team that started Christian McCaffrey at pick 3, they're going to go ahead. They are going to get Mike Evans, the falling value. Nick Chubb ends up going at pick 23 here. Nick Chubb going before Javonte Williams. Derek says, Mason, your draft is how I started 2 drafts earlier today. Love it. Let me know what y'all think in the live chat of our selection of Alvin Kamara at pick 20. Now, I think obviously Jamar Chase in this format is a no-brainer pick at 5. You can't make any other selection. But pick 20 is definitely a different story. I think you could go a couple different ways there. Happy Feet says Mike Williams to get Josh Allen in the 3rd round. Okay. I am no rocket scientist. I am an idiot. I get things wrong all the time. But one thing that I am confident that I am not going to get wrong this year is taking Alvin Kamara over Mike Williams. I know that Mike Williams had his breakout last year. Yada yada. Guys, y'all know Mike Williams and Alvin Kamara were in the same draft class, right? They were both in that 2017 draft class. Like, Alvin Kamara's been doing that for a very long time. Leonard Fournette goes. That sucks. I thought we were going to come away with Leonard Fournette here in the 3rd round. So now that that doesn't happen, I think that we just go ahead. We grab Keenan Allen. Obviously, the majority of people are going to go Michael Pittman here. I think if you're looking at Keenan Allen, though, you do have a significantly high floor with the overall target volume that you are going to be getting in that Los Angeles Chargers offense. And if we're going to be looking at the targets per game over the past 2 seasons, Keenan Allen crushes Michael Pittman. And if we're going to be projecting out the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Indianapolis Colts, who's scoring more points? I know a lot of people love Matt Ryan. A lot of people think Matt Ryan's going to make Michael Pittman a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy. But I got news for you. Going back to what I was saying earlier, I'm an idiot. I get things wrong all the time. But one thing I'm confident that I'm not wrong about is Justin Herbert is a significantly better quarterback than Matt Ryan is. Swizz says, you got to go Williams over Keenan Allen for upside alone. Guys, Keenan Allen has upside. Keenan Allen's averaged a top 10 finish at the wide receiver position over the past 3 seasons. Like, let me pull up our 2022 fantasy football draft guide just so I can give you some Keenan Allen stats, give you the exact finishes for Keenan Allen. Let's look this up. And of course, if you want our draft guide, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy, make a $10 deposit, use promo code FLOCK, and manage to get in some of these drafts with us. But Keenan Allen here, we're looking at a top 10 finish over the past 3 years. You know, the only other wide receivers in fantasy that have been able to average a top 10 finish over the past 3 seasons? Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, and DeAndre Hopkins. And I know you are going to say, well, Mason, Keenan Allen's fallen off. Well, over the past 2 years, the wide receiver 7 and the wide receiver 10, the only red flag, and I repeat, the only red flag you have with the Keenan Allen profile is going to be the air yards per game dramatically coming down. Keenan Allen had 49 air yards per game this past season, so he's definitely being used as an option close to the line of scrimmage. But I'm fine with taking Keenan Allen here. Now, after we take Allen, we have really what you would expect to happen. We have a lot of wide receivers going off the board. We have Derek taking my 2 favorite wide receivers in this entire world. Like, my 2 favorite players. I have big fat heads of them up in my room hanging. Like, I love these guys. Love their fantasy football value as well. They're my 2 favorite draft picks. Taking Courtland Sutton and Gabriel Davis here at the 3-4 turn. But GA says Keenan Allen doesn't have the upside for weeks 15, 16, 17 though. Are you referring to spike weeks? What do you mean he doesn't have the upside for those 3 weeks? So if I go through and look at Keenan Allen gets spike weeks. Keenan Allen, 100 receptions week 1, 100 receiving yards. 100 receptions week 1 would be pretty damn impressive. But 100 receiving yards week 1, 108 receiving yards, 104 receiving yards, 112 receiving yards. Like, Keenan Allen could get there. We're going to go ahead. We are going to take Ezekiel Elliott. I don't love Ezekiel Elliott in fantasy, but if you are going to be looking at having a unique combo here, Ezekiel Elliott's not really making it to the Jamar Chase team very often. We only have 1 running back with Alvin Kamara. I think taking Ezekiel Elliott here will also allow us to potentially be able to get a Dak Prescott value a little bit later on. Now, of course, it would be a dream to get Justin Herbert, but Justin Herbert, as of late, has been falling to the 5th round. Like, there's a realistic shot. I don't want to act like it's a high probability, but there's a realistic shot that we still get Justin Herbert on the way back around in the 5th. Because if you look at the context of this draft board, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson are still available. And if we're looking at where Mike Williams and Austin Eckler were drafted, they're on the other side of the draft board for us. So if people are wanting to build in correlations within their own within their own lineup, Justin Herbert wouldn't make a ton of sense for a team here. Now, Justin Herbert ends up going off the board regardless. Can't blame the guy. Hell, it's Justin Herbert at pick 47. That's fantastic value. But there are a lot of instances where you do pass on Justin Herbert here at the end of the 4th round, and he still makes it back around to you at the beginning of the 5th. Okay. Kingview Mead decides to take Herbert. Brutal. Jimmy says, hey, Mason, can you start a 300-team manager fantasy football league, please? One just got canceled. It sounds like a lot of work, my man. How about this? How about instead of starting a massive league like that, how about I just live stream and start leagues every single night with y'all on the live stream? That way y'all can get in as many of these drafts with us as possible. Like I said, the majority of these drafts we're going to be doing on Underdog from now on. They are going to be private drafts. So it should be very easy for y'all to get in. Okay, so Lamar Jackson goes off the board, pick 51. We would have taken Lamar Jackson if he made it to us at pick 53. So there are honestly 3 players I'm looking at here. 3 players that I like the value of. I don't want to say anything out loud. I don't know if this team's going to be listening to us, but no, they decided to take Kittle. So let's go ahead. Let's take Darren Waller here at pick 53. I mean, this is a tight end that is going to be in a tougher spot to draw the elite level target share this upcoming season. Like, I don't necessarily think that Darren Waller is going to get to 9 targets a game again because you do have Devontae Adams coming over. But at the same time, we have seen Darren Waller post the difference-making season at the tight end position. When we take Waller here, I think that we are going to be able to get away with only having to draft 2 tight ends in this league as well. So I am very excited about the selection of Darren Waller. Cam Akers goes directly after. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all think. Do you go Cam Akers? Do you go Patrick Mahomes over Darren Waller? I think that's the only play. Taylor says Waller of Mahomes, question mark. Yeah, we're doing it. We're rolling the dice. Hornpound says Juju going before Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, Juju's been going before Patrick Mahomes for a very, very, very long time now. This is not a surprise. Okay, so Bateman goes 57. Michael Thomas, a 56. Now, y'all know it warms my heart. Warms my heart to see Michael Thomas sliding up draft boards. Remember who went against the haters, who made video after video after video telling you to draft Michael Thomas when he was going the 8th round. You haven't seen a Michael Thomas video from us in a while because now he goes in the 5th. This is a lot closer to where he should be drafted, so I don't feel the need to make our 10th video calling Michael Thomas a draft target, a buy low candidate, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Swiss World says, I think Akers' ADP is way off. Let me know if you think Akers should be going up draft boards or down draft boards. So what do you reference in that? Okay. And if you are just now joining us, this is a $250 fantasy football draft here. This is a real money fantasy football draft, real stakes on the line, real pressure, of course. Now we have DK Metcalf, Amon-Ra St. Brown at the turn. Derek decides to take Dobbins and David Montgomery. Love the Dobbins and Montgomery pick. I mean, if we're looking at like Dobbins versus Ezekiel Elliott, there's not a big difference between those guys. I mean, I think that you could look at Dobbins as someone that's in that same tier of an Ezekiel Elliott at this point. You do need to get very excited about being able to take J.K. Dobbins there at the end of the 5th, especially now that we have positive injury news with Mr. Dobbins. Now, Jalen Hurts goes 65. If Jalen Hurts would have fallen to us, that would have been beautiful. Like, I would have done a little dance if Jalen Hurts would have fallen to us. And this is what I was referencing earlier, guys. I don't know if something happened with Elijah Mitchell today. I don't know if we had a report coming out about Tyrion Davis-Price, a report coming out about Jeff Wilson, Trey Sermon, or something. But in a ton of drafts I was doing earlier today, Elijah Mitchell was falling to the 7th round. So please, if I'm forced to be in the situation to possibly draft Elijah Mitchell, spam the chat for me right now. Did something happen? Am I missing something when it comes to Elijah Mitchell? Please spam that chat. Let me know ASAP. Let's see what this team decides to do. They went Akers in the last. They take Josh Jacobs here. Spam the chat. Am I missing something with Elijah? Okay. Okay, it looks like people are saying nothing going on with Elijah Mitchell. Take him and run. We're going to do it. I'm going to listen to you. Let's take Elijah Mitchell here, pick 68, especially once we see J.K. Dobbins go off the board as well. Usually Dobbins is someone that As of now, you can get him in the 7th round of these underdog drafts. So if we are going to see Dobbins pushed up, might as well go ahead, take an Elijah Mitchell. The recovery coming out. Happy to see you. Says, Young Flockster, have a flex question going into the season. Should I start Adam Thielen or Brandon Cooks? Also, do you consider Cordell Patterson a sleeper? Yes, I think Cordell Patterson can repeat as a top 24 running back this upcoming season. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a monumental day. This is a monumental minute of this live stream. Because y'all know we live stream every single night during the season, question and answer live streams. So I'll answer thousands of questions during the season. But this is the first start-sit question that we've had of the 2022 year. So we are officially now in season, I guess, to be thinking about your start-sit decisions. Please don't start asking me these start-sit decisions way too early, okay? Way too early. But if I'm going to pull this up, who did you ask about? We have Adam Thielen or Brandon Cooks. We have Adam Thielen and the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Packers. And we have the Houston Texans going up against the Colts. Let's say go Houston for the target share. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not in that mind space right now. I'd probably say go Brandon Cooks over Adam Thielen week 1. Just because you can project Brandon Cooks for get 25 or 30% of his team's targets. Okay. Josh says, bro, pick 1 is wild. Let's go through and let's see what they're doing. Honestly, it looks like a standard underdog draft. Personally, I think it's a very bad idea to go ahead and take Allen Lazard there at pick 73 over a couple of these other players, but this is where Allen Lazard now goes. I saw Allen Lazard go in the 6th round today on underdog before George Kittle. I saw Allen Lazard get drafted before George Kittle today. And you know what we're going to do? We are going to take that question that we had earlier regarding Adam Thielen. That's a sign. Thank you, the recovery, for giving us a sign to take Adam Thielen here. Our first question and answer. Our first start-sit question of the offseason regarding Adam Thielen. We're able to go through, draft him directly after. So what this tells me is Adam Thielen's having a massive week 1. So actually, I go back on that question. Don't start Brandon Cooks. The stars are aligning here. It's Adam Thielen week 1. It has to be Thielen now. There's no way it's not. But Kadarius Toney, Smith go, back-to-back 78, 79. Honestly, I know maybe I'm overreacting, and maybe this is something I need to just get over myself with. But am I the only one that's a little worried when we're seeing Kadarius Toney already have soft tissue injuries, concerns in training camp? This is something that was a concern at Florida. This is something that was a concern year 1. Am I the only one that's concerned that this is happening right now? So I think I do go Smith there, 78 over Toney. Billy Joe says, Allen Lazard is this year's Cooper Kupp. Oh, dear God, my friend. If Allen Lazard is this year's Cooper Kupp, I will tell you this right now. I am going to lose a significant amount of money this year. I do not think Allen Lazard is a good wide receiver. I would not be surprised if Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, or Sammy Watkins is the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay. Right now, on paper, yes, on paper, it is going to be Allen Lazard. If you're looking at a median projection, he's the wide receiver. But we know there's so much volatility from a year-to-year basis in the NFL. Allen Lazard's never been a wide receiver 1 in any NFL offense. And I know people are going to say, oh, Mason, that's because Devontae Adams was there. Yes, that's true. But did you also know Allen Lazard was an undrafted free agent? Did you also know that Allen Lazard has bounced around from team to team, literally just a guy? I tweeted this out, but like the second I saw Allen Lazard go before George Kittle in a draft today, I was like, guys, this can't end well. This can't end well. Now, Gibson goes 87. There are a few names that I really like here. I'm unsure if we're actually going to get them. Derek decided to take Dak. I believe he probably took Pollard. No, we saw Pollard go early. So there at the turn, Derek decided to go Dak Prescott to pair up with Mr. CeeDee Lamb. And he also went Russell Wilson. So he went back-to-back elite level quarterback. And maybe we're regretting not taking Mike Evans a little earlier on if we're going to be possibly getting a Tom Brady staring at us at pick 92. Let's see what this team does. They went Allen, Akers, Jacobs, and then at wide receiver, they have Diggs, Judy, Tony, Andrews. They go Sky Moore. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. We are going to go ahead. We are going to get Miles Sanders as our running back 4 here. Really like this Miles Sanders selection. Playing behind the best offensive line in the NFL. He should be a committee level RB, but still, I think if we're looking at Miles Sanders, this is someone that if you remember after his rookie season, which feels like it was so long ago, but after his rookie season, it was 2020. Miles Sanders in high stakes drafts was going in the late first round. This is someone that, of course, had a disappointing season last year because he didn't score any touchdowns. But at the same time, you're looking at touchdowns being the most volatile statistic in fantasy football on a year-to-year basis. And maybe your counterpoint to that is, oh, well, Mason Jalen Hurts is going to vulture them at the goal line. And I would think that same thing as well. If it wasn't for that being the analysis in Arizona last year, if y'all remember, in Arizona, a lot of people, including myself, didn't think that James Conner had an elite touchdown ceiling because Kyler Murray's ability at the goal line, because Kyler Murray's coming off a season where he himself had double-digit rushing touchdowns. So that touchdown usage, that touchdown rate is indeed going to be very volatile season to season. Let's go ahead. Let's take Miles Sanders and hope that we get a bounce back. I mean, it's pick 92. How bad can this be? Happy Feet says another $250 draft after this. Most likely not, my friend. After this, we're going to go ahead. And if we get 600 likes on the live stream after this, we will fire up another draft. That next one, though, is probably just going to be like a cheap $5 draft or something, maybe a $10 draft if that's what y'all want, with only people a part of this live stream. It will be a private draft. It won't be a tournament on Underdog. It'll just be you, me, against 10 other people. Okay. Now we have Chase Edmonds, 99. Edmonds would have been the running back that we were looking at on the way back around. James Cook goes. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Robert Woods. If James Cook was there, honestly, I thought that we were potentially going to be going with a James Cook at running back and taking our last running back in this draft. But let's instead just go ahead. Let's take Robert Woods here, pick 101. I think that this is a pretty strong wide receiver 4. This is someone that should be good to go week 1. I don't necessarily think that we should be concerned with the torn ACL lingering in Tennessee for Robert Woods. I think he'll potentially be the receiver 1 for the beginning portion of the season. And then it probably is going to end up being, of course, our guy, Treylon Burks, down the stretch. But we have so many cheap shares of Treylon Burks that I'm hoping that it does happen. Okay. Let's see. We have Kenneth Walker going 103. Kobe Short says, do you think you'll get to over 1,000 drafts before the season starts? Oh, man. I don't know. I think maybe we'll end up getting our Red Experience badge. Like if you count the drafts we did last year, I think we'll maybe get to 1,000. But if I'm looking at how many we have now, it's hard to kind of add these up because we have a lot of private drafts as well. We probably are a little over 500 drafts at this point. And if we continue to do, say, 4 on the live stream every single night, I'm probably not going to be able to draft as many off the live stream now that the puppy's closed and I maxed out Best Ball Mania. Probably not. So we have Aaron Rodgers going 109. Keep in mind, we still need another quarterback. We have a total of 0 QBs. 0 quarterbacks at this point. Not great. Now, of course, we do have some options we could go with. We could end up taking Kirk Cousins in the 11th. Who took Jefferson here? Kingview Mead took Jefferson. And, oh, no, he already went Kirk Cousins at pick 98. Oh, I didn't even see that. Well, what we really need to point out, and thank God I just noticed this. Look at the teams after us with how many quarterbacks they've taken. Kingview Mead has Herbert and Kirk Cousins. When you take 2 quarterbacks inside the top 9 rounds, you can't take another. Same thing, LOL Hot Dogs here as Lamar and Tom Brady. They got them at great values, but they can't take another quarterback. And then these other teams, they can take a second. They have Lance and Burrow, but I don't necessarily know how incentivized that they are going to be to do so. So if we are thinking about drafting a quarterback at any point, we probably should try to wait until we are on an odd numbered round. Like we're coming out. So either at pick like 125, 149, 173. Okay, dear God. Rashad Penny's fallen. Rashad Penny not expected to play preseason week 1. What is going on here? Of a groin injury. What the hell have I been talking about? What have I been talking about, ladies and gentlemen? We've been rooting for Rashad Penny for years. But this was the 1 year we were saying to draft Kenneth Walker, do not draft Rashad Penny, because he's always had the talent. He's always had the ability. The only ability he has not possessed is availability, the ability to stay on the football field. But if we are going to get this value with Rashad Penny, if we are going to get him, what? At that point, 24 picks behind ADP, getting him 2 rounds behind ADP, we have to take the value. So we're going to take Penny here. This is probably about where he should go, if I'm going to be completely honest. He probably should go about pick 116. Definitely should go after Kenneth Walker, as we've talked about all offseason now. But at some point, we have to go ahead. We have to take him. Like, if we're looking at Julio Jones and Rondale Moore, I'm not taking Julio Jones, Rondale Moore over a potential starting running back in the NFL. Now, after we take Rashad Penny, we're probably hoping that we get more running backs off the board, because I think when we take Penny as our 5th guy here, probably done at the running back position, especially if you consider the fact that we have to draft 3 quarterbacks with this build. We need 1 more tight end, and we just need to hammer in those wide receivers. I mean, our wide receiver core is okay. I don't want to act like it's the best thing in the world. I mean, we're sitting with Jamar Chase, Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen, Robert Woods. So it's not a great wide receiver core, but it isn't horrible by any means. Freeme says Kenneth Walker's player comparison is LT, which is crazy. I don't know where you heard that from, but that's just factually incorrect. He does not profile to be LT. Like, let me go through and pull this up. The issue with Kenneth Walker, and keep in mind, this is coming from someone who's been saying to buy the dip on Walker whenever you were getting him cheap earlier on, is he's not going to be a pass-catching running back out of the backfield. Like, that's not going to be him. If we're going to look at LT. LT was a running back that came out and was the 5th overall pick in the NFL draft. The 5th overall pick in the NFL draft. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's take Golladay. We just need to continue to stack on wide receiver value. We were talking about the upside case of a Kenny Golladay potentially getting back to what we saw in 2019, potentially showing some sign of life where he is worth the money that the New York Giants ended up giving him. Now, of course, he did not work out last year for anybody who drafted him, but this is going to be a significantly cheaper price tag, and we're just trying to buy targets at this point. Buy targets, buy spike weeks to the wide receiver position. I think a lot of these other teams already have quarterbacks. Like, I'm not necessarily going to reach on a Tua Tagovailoa on a Justin Fields here at 125. If we could get a Justin Fields falling back to us later on, then sure, I'll take it. But I think we just need to start stockpiling these wide receivers in a best ball format. We really have no other option. I mean, if you want to make the argument you prefer Devontae Parker over Kenny Golladay, fine. You can make that argument. But let's just take Golladay here. And Albert O goes pick 127, very early for Albert O. Was there any Albert O news that I didn't know? Because Scissors took Albert O pretty early in the last draft as well. Kenneth Gainwell goes here 128. Good for us. I'm assuming Derek would have taken Gainwell almost regardless there at 131. Jacoby Myers goes 129. I feel like these higher stakes drafts go a little bit slower. Like, people definitely are willing to sit on the clock a little longer. And let me go through and recap our draft if you are just now coming in here. And if you are just now coming in, please go down there, drop a like in the live stream. We hit 600 likes in the stream. We are going to fire up another draft after this one. But at wide receiver, we are sitting with Jamar Chase, Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen, Robert Woods, and Kenny Golladay. So an adequate wide receiver core, it's not great. I mean, I definitely think that we have upside primarily just because we went with the combination of Jamar Chase as well as Keenan Allen early on. And if we are looking at what we have at running back, we have the combination of Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Elijah Mitchell, Miles Sanders, and Rashad Penny. So running back, I think that we are very strong. Like if you look at the fact that Miles Sanders usually goes there at the 7-8 turn, Rashad Penny, of course, we've been talking about fading him for the longest time, but usually goes at the end of the 8th round, the middle of the 8th round. We're getting him here in the 10th. We get Elijah Mitchell at 68. We get Ezekiel Elliott about 5 picks past his ADP. We just got a lot of value at the running back position in this draft. But Justin Fields and Tua Tagovailoa are both off the board. Interesting to see where Tua went. At this point, I can't say too much. We can't say too much. Let's sit here and let's be quiet for a little bit. Jackson says, how do we join private drafts? Okay, so of course, the first thing is make sure you're signed up for Underdog. Link in the description. Sign up, use promo code FLOCK. You'll get a deposit match, dollar for dollar up to 100. You'll get our rankings. You'll get our draft guide, 300 pages, literally with a $10 deposit. And when you have that $10 in your account, Underdog's going to match that to 20. And we will do cheap private drafts after this for people wanting to join, where I will create the private draft on my own. I will announce on the live stream, I'm sending out the private draft link right now, and I'll type on the stream, $5 draft here or $10 draft here, or whatever the buy-in is. Click that link, you're in. Okay. So DJ Chark goes 138. Let's see where this team decides to take it. They go Christian Watson. Hell yes. We are going to get Pat Freiermuth as our second tight end. We are now going to be done at the tight end position when we have the combination of Darren Waller and Pat Freiermuth. We're getting Freiermuth at his ADP, but to be completely honest, I love this price point for Freiermuth. Like if we're comparing Pat Freiermuth to Dawson Knox, I am not going to be surprised at all. I don't want to say it's likely, but I am not going to be surprised at all if Dawson Knox ends up getting outscored by Pat Freiermuth this year. And you're looking at Dawson Knox with an ADP of 104. Here he goes at pick 97. And we're getting Pat Freiermuth at pick 140. Like, I just love that price point. Love that price point. Okay. So let's go through, scroll this down. After we take Freiermuth, you have George Pickens and Jahan Dotson, some rookie wide receivers going off the board here. James Robinson off. That's good for us. Keel Herbert off as well. We're probably done at running back, as I already said. I mean, maybe if we get some ridiculous value, we go running back. Hendricks says, no way Pat Freiermuth outscores Dawson Knox. Let's look some stuff up here. Robbie Anderson, 146. KJ Osborne, 147. Okay. Let's keep in mind, Pat Freiermuth was a rookie tight end last year, right? Freiermuth was a rookie tight end. Let's hammer that in. Pat Freiermuth was a rookie tight end. Rookie tight end. Do those guys ever produce? No, they don't. 60 receptions last season. Now you have no Eric Ebron. You have Juju Smith-Schuster gone. You have James Washington gone. This sets up nicely for Freiermuth. Going into year 2, Dawson Knox was a 25-year-old tight end last year. And Dawson Knox, 49 receptions compared to Freiermuth at 60. Like, they were in the same exact tier last year. You had Pat Freiermuth with 60 receptions, 497 receiving yards, and you had Knox with 49 receptions, 587. Very comparable players. What's the difference in points per game? 1 to 2, and one of them's a rookie tight end. Like, it's 100%, 100% in the range of outcomes for Freiermuth to outscore Dawson Knox. I'm not saying it's likely, but I'm saying it's possible. Jerry says, yeah, but George Pickens in his own targets. Okay, let's go through and let's look at this. We have Gesicki, Hunter Henry going off the board. Love the value that Derek's getting here with Hunter Henry. Obviously, we kind of want these tight ends off the board. Like, even if I love the value, we can't take them. Isaiah McKenzie goes pick 156. Okay, so let's look at the amount of targets that you had with these other guys. Okay, so targets last year. You have Ray McCloud at 66 targets out of this offense. James Washington, 44 targets out of this offense. Juju Smith-Schuster, 28 targets out of this offense. That's like 140 targets right there. Then Eric Ebron. Then Zach Gentry at tight end. Those players are gone. It's Freiermuth's job. There are 160 targets available in this offense. I do think the passing volume comes down overall, but I think Freiermuth gets better. Like, and maybe you don't agree with me that Freiermuth could outscore Dawson Knox, but for this price point, what are we talking about here? Okay, so now it looks like the best values on the board are going to be positions that we can't even take at tight end, which that sucks for us. Hopefully these teams right before us end up going tight end. Jamal Williams goes pick 161. Someone getting the Hard Knocks bump, of course. Tyler Higbee goes 162. Higbee going before Gerald Everett, David Njoku, and Robert Tonyan in this draft. We ended up taking Tyler Higbee in the last one. I think at this point, ladies and gentlemen, actually, let's be quiet for a second. Let's be quiet just for a second. Ah, crap. Guys, this is scary. In our cheat code, ceiling pick for weeks 15, 16, 17 off the board as well with Watson. Where did Watson go here? 157. We're not getting a quarterback. We are going to go ahead. We're going to take Wan'Dale. He does correlate with Kenny Golladay. We were really hoping we got Daniel Jones there. We were put in a very difficult position now. Oh, dear God, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be really tough. We just got completely boxed out of quarterback. Paid Resider says, thanks for all the live streams and turning me on to Underdog. Appreciate the draft guide came through today. No, thank you so much for the support, my friend. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Really hope that you are enjoying the live stream. And it looks like we just got burnt in this live stream for your entertainment. Oh, dear God, ladies and gentlemen. Where could we have taken a quarterback here? Let's go through and let's revisit this. Can't take Allen in the third. There's just a 0% chance that's happening. We could go Justin Herbert in the fourth. We could have taken Patrick Mahomes in the fifth. Elijah Mitchell, we have to make that pick. We have to make the Adam Thielen pick. We could go Tom Brady. I have no excuses. We could have made a quarterback pick. There were multiple opportunities we had. Oh. That is tough. Derek says that team had Kadarius Toney. Okay, so it does make sense for them to go through and take Daniel Jones. They only had one quarterback as well. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this is a tough scene to say the least. If we're looking at what we can do from here, I don't even know. Marvin Jones off the board. Zamir White as well. We just have to go away. We just have to go ahead and reach on Mac Jones. We don't have anybody in New England. And yes, you can make the argument, oh, well, Mason, you could get Mac Jones possibly coming back to you in the 16th round. We have 0 quarterbacks. We probably need to take another guy in the 16th as well. So even if we are severely reaching on him, we almost just have to, because we're probably going to have to take quarterback in the 16th. We're probably going to have to take quarterback in the 17th. Dear God, this is tough. Frank says, why is everyone counting out Mac Jones? The dude is going to be the truth. With Mac Jones, people aren't necessarily discounting him, thinking that he's a bad NFL quarterback. People are essentially saying, well, this is someone that's not going to have access to a rushing upside. So if you think it's going to be a rush first offense and Mac Jones is going to have a total of 5 rushing yards in the entire year, in a 4-point passing touchdown format, his ceiling is just going to be capped compared to these other guys like a Daniel Jones, who's going to be a significantly worse NFL quarterback. But if Daniel Jones could pick up 350 rushing yards, he's going to have a significant leg up on Mac Jones when it comes to fantasy. Okay. But real quick, guys, we are 5 likes away on the live stream from hitting 600 and firing up our next draft. So please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like in the stream. I'm going to pull up my own phone so I can drop a like on the live stream myself because I can't ask you to do so if I have not done so. But we should be good now. Jared Goff goes off the board 182. Donovan Peoples-Jones 181. God, let's see what we're looking at. The issue is we just have no correlation here at all. Like, this is a bad team, guys. We lit this $250 on fire. I think yesterday in the live stream, we had some great ones. Today is just brutal. Tyrion Davis-Price falling like a rock. Dear God. 20 picks past ADP at this point. I don't even know if we can take advantage of it, however. Like, we have our 5 guys, and we're scrambling at quarterback right now. I think that we have to go ahead. We have to take Tannehill. I mean, if we're taking Tannehill here, no, it's not exciting by any means, but we have Robert Woods. Maybe we can just get some correlation in that way. I don't want to be sitting here coming up with ways that this team gets there because it probably just doesn't. We just need to start taking these quarterbacks, getting these points in. Let's take a Ryan Tannehill here in the 16th. Kendrick Bourne was going to be someone that we were looking at. So I guess now, you know what? Maybe this team's not going to be too bad. We can go Tyquan Thornton in the last round. We can get Thornton for that correlation there with Mac Jones. We could potentially take Curtis Samuel and Carson Wentz. I don't know. I think this team may be fine. Hendricks says Malik Willis looked like trash today. I think that's the assumption for any quarterback that lasts until the 3rd round of the NFL draft. Like, I liked Malik Willis in fantasy before the NFL draft when people were projecting him to be a first-round pick. So I was like, oh, he's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft, and he has the elite rushing ceiling. Hell, he's Jalen Hurts. Sign me up for that. But the second he goes in the 3rd round, you're like, oh, okay, this is someone, he's off our board. You can't draft him. A 3rd round quarterback in the NFL draft is not going to start. Like, we literally got our TikTok page taken down because I came out after the NFL draft and saying, oh, Malik Willis isn't going to start a game year 1. 3rd round rookie quarterbacks don't start. I like Malik Willis before the NFL draft, but now I don't. And so many people went to the comment section and said, report this TikTok. This guy is an idiot. And enough people reported that to get my entire page taken down. Can you believe that? For saying something correct. Backplay says, did they take down the $5 puppy drafts? Yes, the puppy contest is filled. They didn't necessarily take it down. It just got filled. They had like 200,000 something entries in that puppy tournament. But the drafts that we were going to get after this, we are going to get some $5 drafts going, but they're going to be private drafts. They won't be the tournament puppy drafts. So it'll just be you, me, and then 10 other people watching this live stream. So now, Darrell Williams, 194. Tyrion Davis-Price finally off the board, 195. I think what? We just end up going Zach Wilson here. We just take Zach Wilson. I mean, with Zach Wilson, I'm on record saying I don't think he's a great NFL quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, I can admit, hell, this is someone that has weapons. He has Elijah Moore. He has Garrett Wilson. He has Breece Hall. I even like Corey Davis. So let's go ahead and let's take Zach Wilson. And hopefully we can just cycle through these quarterbacks. Look at that. Look at that quarterback. Oh my gosh. Is there anything sadder you will ever see? I just want to cry at this point. But let's go through. Let me just set up a private draft for everybody real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and we'll do a $5 draft. We haven't done a private draft in quite some time that I sent out in the live chat. So just so y'all can make sure you're getting the hang of it, you know how to join, and you know how to play on Underdog as well. I will just create a $5 draft. I'm going to copy this link, and I'm going to send out $5 draft here in the live stream. Okay, we just sent that out. It's in the stream, the live chat. go click on it. And if you don't have your underdog account set up, if you want to participate in these drafts with us going forward, which we do every single night, make sure you go down to the link in the description. Make sure you go to the link in the comment section, not the $5 draft tier link, but the join our next draft tier link that will take you to Underdog Fantasy. And from there, you'll make your account, deposit $10 with promo code FLOCK, and they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football rankings, our 2022 fantasy football draft guide, and of course, you will support the channel. Luke says he's at the 4 spot. Swissworld says he was way too slow to get in. But we have obviously a ton of members of the flock out here. We have a lot of new people out here as well. Derek's picking right next to us at 6. Don't know how Derek gets in here every single time. But I don't know if I've seen the Love Stars name before. Steak, Luke. I think I have seen Dramos. In 4C4, I think we've seen them. Yeah, there are a lot of new people, I think, out here in the stream with us in this draft. So I'm super happy to see it. AJ says he got the 12 spot. He hates the 12 spot. I don't think it's that bad. Honestly, I don't love 8, if I'm going to be honest. But hell, I was very excited about having the 5 spot in that last draft, and we torched it. We lit $250 on fire. And we were about to be on the clock again, so let's pull that back around. So you have Jonathan Taylor CMC going off the board here with the first 2 picks. I'm imagining that we may end up coming away with, I don't know if you think about this. We took Tyquan Thornton in the last round just so we could have some correlation with Mac Jones. But I think we'd probably come away with Derrick Henry. I think that's the assumption. Because I'm imagining that Derrick is either going to go Austin Eckler or Stephon Diggs. I think Dramos just takes the other one that's available. So I think we're going to get Derrick Henry at pick 8. Erasing says, when should Najee Harris be drafted? On Underdog, where you have to start 3 wide receivers, I would say Najee Harris should be going at about pick 11, pick 12. But I do have a top 24 overall rankings video coming out for your casual fantasy football draft that will come out on the channel tomorrow. So you can see where I think you should see Najee Harris off the board in a casual redraft league. Okay, so Austin Eckler goes. So we are going to go ahead. We are going to take a Derrick Henry here at pick 8. I think it's going to be not too hard of a decision to go ahead and to take Derrick Henry at 8. And then after this, I'd imagine we get Dalvin, then maybe Najee, then Derek Carr, then Kelsey, then Lamb. Just a guess. Just a guess. Maybe someone surprises us here. Derek says Mason just automatically puts me in when he joins. Underdog lets him do it. Yeah, I definitely. When we're doing a crap ton of stuff on the live stream, I make sure we get Derek in every single time. I go through and I do some stuff on the back end to find a way to get him in here. Now we have DeAndre Swift going 12. Aaron Jones 13. So you end up getting Najee Harris falling all the way to 14. I think Najee Harris is just an unreal selection here. I think that's going to be a no-brainer pick. There are real concerns that you have with Najee Harris, specifically with the offensive line, the offense, as well as the lack of overall top-end athleticism to provide big plays. So those are concerns, but at the same time, hell, pick 14, the raw amount of touches you're going to be getting makes that a no-brainer. So what I didn't get, please, someone answer this question for me. Why the hell? Why? Was Saquon Barkley out there tonight? Why was Saquon Barkley playing tonight? Does Barkley really need the practice? Does the coaching staff really need to figure out how to use Saquon Barkley that they need him playing on August 11th? Like, please. As someone drafting Saquon Barkley in the 2nd round here, what I want you to do is I want you to go through, Wrap him up. Wrap him up in bubble wrap. Like, do not let a single person touch him. Keep him as safe as humanly possible. And let's wait until week 1. Like, there's no reason that the man should be out there this early. Ant says, as a Giants fan, I wanted to see him. To be honest, he hasn't proven anything these last few years due to the injuries. Like, we know Saquon Barkley was the best running back prospect of all time coming into the NFL draft. The best running back prospect of all time coming into the draft. And then he posts that rookie season in 2018 where he has almost a 20% team target share. Like, we know who Saquon Barkley is. He just needs to be healthy. Like, please keep the man safe. Nick Chubb falling to pick 27. Love the Nick Chubb value there. Obviously, that's going to be a no-brainer. And then we have Josh Allen at 28. Kyle Pitts goes 29. Derek decided to go Mark Andrews, then gets A.J. Brown falling to him at 30. So I think you can be very excited about that A.J. Brown selection, of course. I mean, with A.J. Brown, I would say from a talent perspective, he is a first-round fantasy football talent. Obviously, the situation is what's going to keep him there. But at pick 30, it's 100% going to be a no-brainer. Now, after that, let's go through and let's go Michael Pittman. I mean, I haven't drafted a ton of Michael Pittman, but when we're getting him 4 picks behind ADP and we're going to do like, 600, 700 drafts when it's all said and done. When he falls this far, we probably need to go ahead and just draft him. Like, trust me, guys, I think that in a vacuum, Michael Pittman is being overvalued. Like, that's why in the last draft, we went ahead, we took Keenan Allen over him, despite Michael Pittman having that higher ADP. But I think we've only drafted him in 3 or 4 leagues so far. I'm sorry, 3 or 4% of our leagues so far. Like, a very, very few. Okay, so Travis Etienne goes 38. Hopefully we get our guy making it back to us. I'd imagine because this is a flock league, we're very unlikely to get our guy making it back around to us in the 4th round. But hell, if we were to get Jalen Waddle, one more pick. Come on, give me Waddle. Give me Waddle. Just do it for us. We just got burnt to a crisp in a $250 draft. Please give us Jalen Waddle here. What's so funny about underdog projections as well, if I go through and if I pull up that team we drafted in that $250 draft, this is why I'm telling y'all, do not trust these underdog projections. I think underdog has the best ADP, and it's not even remotely close. Literally not even remotely close, because how many real money fantasy football drafts there are on underdog. Underdog has had, at this point, I want to say probably millions of real money fantasy football drafts this offseason. So their ADP is top notch. Nothing comes close to it. But look at this projection. I don't know if y'all can see this. Let's see if this will focus in. Regardless, we have the second highest projection in that $250 draft. And I think that we probably have one of the worst teams in that $250 draft. Okay. Lamar Jackson goes 43 to pair up with Mark Andrews here. Deontay Johnson, 44. I think that if Jalen Waddle makes it to you in the middle of the 4th round, this is just a no-brainer selection, guys. Like, let's go through how many wide receivers were drafted before Waddle at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You're getting Jalen Waddle as the wide receiver 18. Waddle finishes the wide receiver 13 on a points per game basis last year as a rookie. He put up one of the most impressive rookie seasons of all time. Literally, if you compare it historically, it looks like A.J. Green, Julio Jones. I know Jamar Chase had his own rookie year last year, so of course it's going to overshadow Jalen Waddle. But still, in a vacuum, Jalen Waddle had one of the most impressive rookie seasons of all time. The fact that he's being drafted 5 spots behind his finish his rookie year is absolutely crazy. I understand Tyreek Hill coming over is definitely going to hurt. I wouldn't be surprised if Waddle ends up being the wide receiver 1 here in Miami this upcoming season, though. So I'm still going to be taking him every chance I get. Okay. So we have Juju Smith-Schuster off the board here, pick 50. I'd imagine the team that ended up going Patrick Mahomes at 46 was probably hoping that they ended up getting Juju on the way back around to him at pick 51. Jayan says, my team that you didn't like had the second highest projection as well. LOL. Yeah, hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. Jayan, hopefully your team crushes. Hopefully my team crushes as well. You do only need to be top 4 in that league to make it to the fantasy football playoffs in that contest. Frank says, Fleming just secured this draft. My God. Okay, where is he? Where's Fleming in this draft? Okay, he went Mahomes and Waller there at the 4-5 turn. Yeah, he does have a beautiful draft so far. I mean, getting Nick Chubb in the 3rd and starting 2 wide receivers, just to have Nick Chubb in the 3rd as your running back one, it's always going to make your team look great, especially if you can grab that elite level quarterback and the elite level tight end on the way back around. Let's go ahead here. Let's just take Brandon Cooks. I mean, with Brandon Cooks, I actually like him more in a league where we're just having to beat these 11 other people, where we're not necessarily having to consider the overall tournament contest style as well. Because with Brandon Cooks, my issue is why I'm not drafting him usually at his ADP when we can get Mahomes, Kittle, or Waller instead, is he just doesn't have access to a truly elite level ceiling. Like, you're never, and I repeat, ever going to get a season from Brandon Cooks like what we had from Cooper Kupp last year. I don't even think that he could potentially be a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy, just because I know a lot of people love Davis Mills, but I want to assure you that Davis Mills is not an elite level quarterback. I know everybody loves him. Davis Mills is not going to be a good NFL quarterback. If you look at Vegas win totals right now, the Houston Texans are supposed to be the worst team in the NFL. Now, of course, maybe your argument for that is, okay, well, Mason, that's because their defense. If Vegas is telling you that the quarterback's respectable, they're not making it the worst team in the NFL. That's not happening. Elijah Moore goes 63. Alex says, pounding the over on the Texans wins, to be honest, at 4.5. Jags are 7.5. No shot. Interesting. Okay, so Jalen Hurts goes 64. Let's just take Amon-Ra St. Brown. Let's continue to fire up as many wide receiver targets as we can get here. If you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, the final 6 weeks that he had in Detroit, he went for double-digit targets in every single week. Now, of course, the issue with Amon-Ra St. Brown and why it's going to be so damn hard to project that going forward is this is going to be a wide receiver that sees serious target competition added to that wide receiver core. I mean, whether that's Jameson Williams, DJ Chark, or even just a healthy, and I repeat, I mean, we didn't have this at the end of last season, a healthy TJ Hawkinson and a healthy DeAndre Swift. That's going to negatively impact what you see with the target share for Amon-Ra St. Brown. But he was already dynamic last year. And if all of a sudden you are just going to be getting him going into year 2, no longer a rookie, there are definite red flags, but at the same time, he does have an elite level ceiling. Okay, so after we take Amon-Ra St. Brown, Joe Burrow goes, Elijah Mitchell, Drake London, Josh Jacobs. Derek says, let's hit that like button and subscribe button so you can see this great content every day. Derek, of course, as always, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for taking my $250 in that last draft. Thank you for coming out every single night. And yeah, guys, if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like in the live stream. If we hit 800 likes in the stream, we will fire up another draft for everybody here. And we do these live streams every single night. Real money fantasy football drafts. If you want to get in our next draft, go to the link in the description. Go to the link in the live chat. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $200. You'll get our 2022 rankings and our 2022 fantasy football draft guide with a $10 deposit. But Devonta Smith goes here at 75. He would have been a wide receiver we are wanting at pick 80, but in reality, when we go 4 wide receivers in a row here, I'm not dying to grab another guy. Now, DeAndre Hopkins is a player that I'd be really hoping made it back to us at pick 80 here if we were playing in one of those tournament-style contests or if we were playing in any league that had the fantasy football playoffs. But in reality, since this is a private draft and it's just going to be cumulative scoring weeks 1 through 17, who can score the most points, that's not necessarily the format that you want a DeAndre Hopkins, just because you're going to be sacrificing so many points each and every single week. So I probably would not even take Hopkins here if he made it to us. And of course, I probably shouldn't be saying this. If I want someone else to take him, I want him to go off the board. In a league where you have the fantasy football playoffs, you need to be worried about in prioritizing that production in weeks 15, 16, 17. Yeah, you do want to go through and you want to take DeAndre Hopkins here, but not this one. This isn't the league for it. Okay, so Antonio Gibson off the board. I guess we just go ahead and we just fire up Kadarius Toney pick 80 here. I don't love Toney pick 80. Like if you're going to ask me Mason, Toney, or DeAndre Hopkins in a regular fantasy football league, I definitely go with DeAndre Hopkins. But at running back, nobody really stands out. I think some of those other running back names we could get on the way back around at pick 89. Like, remember, we got Miles Sanders, I think, at 92 in the last draft. Now, Hunter Renfrow goes 82 here. Frank says A.J. Dillon wasn't necessary. Okay, so saying it didn't like the picks at the turn. Let's go through and let's check out that draft so far. So this is the team that ended up getting Nick Chubb there at the 3rd round. So they go A.J. Dillon as their second running back at the end of the 6th. I mean, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it in the world, but in reality, I mean, if you're looking at Dillon, he has an ADP sitting around 66, so you are getting him at a value. And of course, if something were to occur to Aaron Jones, all of a sudden, A.J. Dillon would turn into that true league-winning player. Now, I'm not finding myself drafting a ton of A.J. Dillon this year, but that's primarily because you're looking at A.J. Dillon in a range where you have to draft him usually before Josh Jacobs, usually before Elijah Mitchell. So I would go ahead and I would probably just sit out that hype from Dillon. But when he falls behind those other running backs, like if you want running back, Dillon's the guy to go within that range. Okay, so Kirk off the board. Yeah, so this is why we decided to go Kadarius Toney in the last round, so we could get Clyde Edwards-Helaire here. Just looking at how those tier was going to break down, I think it's a no-brainer to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 8th round. We want to be able to take advantage of that. And also when we take Toney, we could also use the excuse, oh, well, we had Saquon Barkley in the 2nd. Maybe we want to go ahead, we want to take Kadarius Toney and then just be able to take Daniel Jones later on and to be able to get that double stack there. Now, let's move this on. Kevin says, thoughts on Taysom Hill. If the fantasy football format you're playing on has Taysom Hill listed as a quarterback, then there's a 0% chance that he's ever worth rostering. Like, never waste your time on Taysom Hill. Now, an underdog, he's listed at tight end, so he is an intriguing shot in the last round of a tournament-style draft where you do need to have that elite level ceiling. What I would say is if it's a tournament-style draft, yeah, probably go ahead, probably go and just draft Taysom Hill. However, if it's going to be like a regular private draft like this where there's only 11 other people, I probably wouldn't because we don't know what this coaching staff wants to do with Hill. Maybe he still continues to be just a thorn in the side of someone like Jameis Winston, and he just ends up pissing us all off week in and week out. If he's vulturing rushing touchdowns at the goal line, maybe from someone like Alvin Kamara. So hopefully Taysom Hill is someone that we don't even have to think about this season. I mean, if you want to root for those other guys in New Orleans. Okay, so after we take CEH, there are some other running backs off the board here. Chase Edmonds, Kareem Hunt, 92 and 93. Frank says, Green Bay and Kansas City both going to finish with rookies as their wide receiver ones. With the amount of money I put in to Christian Watson when he goes 50, 60 picks behind Allen Lazard, and I've been fading the hell out of Allen Lazard, trust me, we'll be like the gif of the Ducks swimming in the gold coins. That's going to be me if Christian Watson can somehow end up being the wide receiver 1 for Rodgers in Green Bay this year. Like, I'm hoping it does happen. I'm hoping it does. Richard says, you have something against quarterbacks tonight? Question mark. Hopefully we end up finding someone we like at a value. I mean, here, where were we supposed to take a quarterback? I feel like across the board, just haven't been too many compelling values. Mark says, Michael Thomas or DK Metcalf for more fantasy points. It's a full PBR format. We got to go with our guy MT. Now, I think it's an unfair question because back when we were saying to draft, Michael Thomas is going about 3-4 rounds after DK Metcalf. But I think full PBR, we're going to go Michael Thomas. Now, Dawson Knox goes pick 100. Thank God we don't have a tight end yet, but we do want to see these tight ends off draft boards. Like, I'm not interested in someone like that whatsoever. Okay. So now in 4, C4 on the clock. They have Brady at quarterback. They had the elite level tight end as well with Kyle Pitts. So a very interesting build with what they have decided to do. See what Derek does. He's already having his 2 quarterbacks. See if he decides to go Rashad Penny. I think Rashad Penny is significantly more appealing in this format than he would be in a league where you have to prioritize production for weeks 15, 16, 17. Y'all know we were talking about Rashad Penny as an undraftable player in fantasy football. An undraftable player at his ADP. However, now when we're getting him an entire round behind his ADP, and this is a league where we don't need to worry about weeks 15, 16, 17, and it's just who can score the most points throughout the entire season, this is the kind of format where we go Rashad Penny. In your regular fantasy football league that has the fantasy football playoffs, we've been saying it for a very long time. They used to get drafted 20, 30 picks apart. Like, Kenneth Walker's the pick over Penny because Penny's probably going to be replaced halfway through the season whenever he has an injury, or Kenneth Walker just ends up being better. But let's take the running back that should be getting that work at the beginning of the year when obviously we've already talked about this at length. But points in week 1, they do matter quite a lot. Okay, now we have Chase Claypool 107. Pat Frymuth 108. Swavey says Garrett Wilson or Christian Watson. Even though Garrett Wilson's in a pretty bad situation, you do still have to go ahead. You have to take Garrett Wilson. I mean, he is a truly elite level prospect. Like, if you look at our wide receiver prospect model, Garrett Wilson compares to top end talent coming into the NFL. Like, he compares to someone like a Calvin Ridley. Okay, so Russell Gage still available here. Maybe we do decide to just go ahead, take a quarterback. What's the injury report with Gage? Not practicing Thursday. Honestly, this situation in Tampa just sounds like something we may be wanting to avoid. Let's go ahead. Let's take Rodgers here. I actually prefer Rodgers over Derek Carr if we do not have Darren Waller, if we do not have Devontae Adams, if we do not have Hunter Renfrow on our team. Because here, if you take Rodgers, there's so many other Green Bay Packers that you're able to get a little bit later on. I mean, you're able to go through. You are able to bring in a Christian Watson. You're able to bring in Romeo Doubs. You're able to bring in a Sammy Watkins. You're able to bring in a Robert Tonyan. So let's go with Aaron Rodgers here. Whoa, Davis Mills goes at the 109. I did not even notice that. Thank you. Thank you for taking Davis Mills at the 109, pushing some other quarterbacks down for us. Thank you for taking Davis Mills here over Rodgers. So we were able to go through. We were able to take Aaron Rodgers. And then Russell Gage goes directly after. I mean, let me know. Do y'all take Russell Gage there? Is that something that y'all would have done? Now, after this, you have Julio Jones 116. So these wide receivers are starting to go. But, I mean, if you're looking at our wide receiver core a little earlier on, we already did address it. We hammered it in. We have Michael Pittman, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Cooks, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Kadarius Toney. So we are pretty strong at wide receiver. I don't think that we need to go through and do anything rash and reach on a receiver. I mean, yeah, you could definitely make the argument that Russell Gage is the play. Maybe I'm just getting spooked about what's happening there in Tampa. But Derek Carr finally off the board at 118. I believe Derek Carr is an ADP of 107, so falling about 11 picks beyond ADP at this point. Teresa says team number 3 is killing it. Okay, let's go through. Let's check out team number 3. So team number 3 goes Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Nick Chubb, Mahomes, Darren Waller. We already talked about this team all the way up until the A.J. Dillon selection. I 100% agree. I think team 3 probably is the best draft so far out of anybody here. And then beyond that, they go Devonta Smith, 75. I really like that. They get Sky Moore at 94 to be able to stack up there with with Patrick Mahomes. So that does make a ton of sense. They go Chris Olave at 99. I would say, honestly, I don't like the Olave pick. Even if you think it's a great value, if you took Patrick Mahomes, especially in a best ball format, it just makes so much more sense to go ahead to take Marquez Valdes-Scantling at 99. Derek Carr, 118. Dameon Pierce, 123. Yeah, I do like the idea of going Marquez Valdes-Scantling at pick 99. We have some people asking when the Puppy 4 is coming out. Guys, I don't know. I can't even guarantee that there is going to be a Puppy 4. Of course, this is way above my pay grade. Like, I'm not nearly important enough for Underdog to disclose this info with me. I don't even know if they know. Because I think Best Ball Mania is, like, not even halfway filled up. Let me see how filled Best Ball Mania actually is. Okay, so Dramos on the clock. Marker Word says probably no Puppy 4 unless Best Ball Mania 3 fills. That's kind of what I'm thinking. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Devontae Parker. We're going to take 3 tight ends with this build almost regardless. So I think getting Cole Kmet here doesn't make a massive difference with where we can get guys like Pat Frymuth and Robert Tonyan later on. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Of course, like I said, this is way above my pay grade. I wish I was important enough for Underdog to disclose this stuff to me. But right now, Best Ball Mania, 51% filled. And it closes in a little less than a month. It closes in like 28 days. So I'd imagine that a crap ton of people are going to be drafting on Best Ball Mania soon. But, I mean, I would assume from the perspective of Underdog Fantasy that your number one priority is to go ahead and fill up Best Ball Mania. And Best Ball Mania definitely have their drafts fill a lot faster when there's not a puppy around. Now, Naheem Hines goes 134. Move this down. We can still go with another running back. Okay, I was going to say we could still go with another running back if we like the value of Alexander Madison there. And with Michael Gallup, he is someone that in a league where you have that fantasy football playoff stretch, weeks 15, 16, and 17, I am overdrafting Michael Gallup. I'm taking Michael Gallup in the 11th round. However, in this league where points in weeks 1, 2, 3 matter just as much as points in weeks 15, 16, 17, Gallup will miss the beginning portion of the season, so I wouldn't take Michael Gallup here. But let's see what we will end up coming away with. Yeah, Gallup goes off the board, so we wouldn't have even had him regardless. Let's go ahead. Let's take Irv Smith Jr. Let's get our first tight end off the board. I mean, if we're looking at some of these other wide receivers, I really like the upside that you would have from a Jahan Dotson down the stretch, specifically for that fantasy football playoff stretch as well. But, I mean, think about what we were just talking about. I don't think that we need to be prioritizing that rather than just getting the raw amount of targets, getting the raw amount of points through the course of the entire season. So in this kind of context, I will be slightly pushing those rookies down. Okay. Eduardo says, Mixon or Austin Eckler in Dynasty, and thoughts on Dawson Knox. Okay, from a Dynasty perspective and a redraft perspective, I think that it's going to be almost the same evaluation of Dawson Knox. I mean, yes, if you look at his breakout last year from a points per game standpoint, it would make a lot of sense why you finally have the breakout for Dawson Knox. This was the tight end that was drafted in that same 2019 class as guys like Metcalf, A.J. Brown, T.J. Hawkinson, Noah Fant. So with Dawson Knox, you didn't expect him to break out a tight end in year 1, in year 2. Like, it probably takes about that long for him to come out and break out. But if you dive a little bit deeper into the numbers and don't just look at his actual fantasy points per game, nothing was that special about Dawson Knox last year. His yards per route run was identical to his career mark, which is like 1.3, 1.4, a very bad mark. And on top of that, if you're looking at his air yards per game, it was pretty much identical to what you've had over the past 3 seasons. So I am using this as an opportunity to go ahead and to sell Dawson Knox, regardless if you're talking about Dynasty, regardless of if you're going to be talking about redraft. And if you look at where I personally have Austin Eckler and Joe Mixon ranked in Dynasty, I have them in the same exact tier. I have Austin Eckler at 7, Joe Mixon at 8. They're back-to-back. It's up to you. But we have Irv Smith Jr. going 137. After we take Irv Smith Jr., you have a couple other tight ends off the board. Jahan Dotson lasts all the way to pick 146 here. That is very interesting. Very, very interesting. And then we already discussed this, but Jameson Williams, very similar to what we were talking about with Michael Gallup as well as Jahan Dotson, a player that in a league that has the fantasy football playoffs, I am going to go ahead. I am going to be very excited to draft Jameson Williams here. But I don't think I can do it in this format. Rubga says, hey Mason, thanks for all the content. Just thought I'd give you some for my birthday money since you're helping me destroy my friends at fantasy every year. No, thank you so much. Of course, happy birthday, my man. And I would say, really, the support that you hang out with us in the live stream every single night is more than enough. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, my man. I truly, truly do appreciate you. Now, Jarvis Landry goes off the board 150. Jarvis is one of those players that I think does make sense for a format like this, that he's just going to rack up so many targets through the course of the season. If we're looking at the wide receivers that are going to be available after someone like Robbie Anderson here, I do think that you have a fall off. Like, I think both Robbie Anderson and Nico Collins are probably some of the last guys in this tier. So let's go ahead and let's take one of these guys. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Robbie Anderson at pick 152 as our wide receiver 7. We just want to try to continue to stack up wide receivers that are going to get targets, as we've already discussed. Robbie Anderson had 110 targets last year. Now, I don't necessarily think that he is that exciting, given the fact that, hell, he's 100% the third option in the Carolina Panthers offense. Like, that's not the best, but still. Scroll this down. Nico Collins off the board 155. Gerald Everett 157. Okay, so couple players that we were wanting are off the board here. Now, my initial plan of what we were going to do at pick 161 was to probably go with the tight end here. That's what I usually do in the 14th round. But once we went ahead and once we took this second New York Giants pass catcher with Kadarius Toney to pair up with Saquon Barkley, I think we almost lock ourselves into taking Daniel Jones here to get that double stack with that New York Giants offense. Because if this team's going to be any good, we probably have to have Saquon Barkley staying healthy. We probably have to have Kadarius Toney breaking out as well. So let's make the easy selection, in my opinion, of just getting Daniel Jones here at 161. I think that we're guaranteed it because Luke has Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence. They don't have anybody for New York, so I'd be surprised if they decided to do anything else. Okay. Yeah, we go Daniel Jones, 181. Now, at this point, if you're looking at this construction, it would be a little bit awkward if we were going to be in that tournament style contest where you want to stack up as many wide receivers as possible for the volatility in weeks 15, 16, 17. But because we don't have those playoffs, I'm fine not drafting as many receivers as usual. So with this league, I'm going to be fine taking 3 total tight ends and 3 total quarterbacks. Like, even when we have Rodgers here, I'm probably still planning on taking 3 QBs regardless. So yeah, we're going to probably end this draft with 1 more quarterback, 2 more tight ends, and 1 more running back. I think we're probably done at wide receiver once we take Robbie Anderson there. I think we do have a very high floor at the position, just given the volume that we've locked in. Yeah. Corvette says drafting again after this. I think we said if we hit 800 likes in the live stream. So it looks like we're about 10 likes away from firing up another draft after this one. So if you want to see another draft, please make sure, guys, you go down there, drop a like in the live stream. I'll be happy to go and fire up another draft after this one. We have Wan'Dale Robinson off the board, 167. Robert Tonyan off the board, 166. Probably good for us to get these wide receivers off now. AJ says a private draft. How many? I'm just thinking for a second. Let me see how filled that $250 contest is on Underdog. I don't know how long it's going to be around. Like how many chances we are actually going to have the draft. So it's 12% filled. Did the $250 drafts launch last night or the night before? Let me know. Corey says, yo, Mason, been watching your videos and streams for a month now, every night, and got plugged in with your code on Underdog. Somehow realized I wasn't subscribed yet, so I got that fixed as well. Thank you so much, Corey. I appreciate you, my man, and I hope that you are going to fire up one of these drafts with us soon. So we are going to get a lot of private drafts going. That way, everybody who wants to draft with us has a really good shot. But let me know, did Jayan said the night before. So it looks like at this rate, those $250 drafts probably going to be filled in about 2 weeks. I'm just trying to think, guys. Okay, we probably can't do another one tonight. I think we can't do another $250 draft tonight. So, yeah, we'll get another private draft going. Okay, so at this point, we are 2 more tight ends, 1 more running back, and 1 more quarterback. And let me know, would y'all want us to do a 14-team draft or a 12-team draft? I usually stick it to 12. Because I feel like once we get to 14, it is going to be very awkward, like just sitting an extra 4 picks every single time I'm trying to weight our selection. Okay, so we have a significant amount of votes for... Okay, I don't know. It seems like it's split 50-50 at this point. Seems like it's split 50-50. I think a 12-team draft would be more fun, but a 14-team draft would allow more people to get in. Okay, so Hayden Hurst goes 181. Yeah, that's why we decided to take Noah Fant there. I think if you're looking at Noah Fant, he is going to be the last tight end in that tier that we're looking for with Robert Tonyan, Tyler Higbee, and Fant himself. Okay, so let's just take whoever falls to us between the combination of Evan Ingram and Austin Hooper. We're going to get 1 more of these tight ends. Jaden says, I just made an account using your code. How do I get the draft guide? Okay, thank you so much. I will say, you don't just have to make an account on Underdog. If you made an account and made a minimum of a $10 deposit, then that's when you're going to get the draft guide. So when you make that deposit, it will immediately be matched dollar for dollar. So if you deposited $10 in your Underdog account with promo code FLOCK, you will see that you have $20 in your account that second. But the draft guide is going to take about 1 to 2 hours to be emailed to you to go through the Underdog system and then send out that automated email. So that draft guide will be sent from Underdog Fantasy to the email address that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with. It'll take about 1 to 2 hours. You'll have our draft guide and our rankings there. And if you don't see it 1 to 2 hours, please make sure you just go ahead and check your spam. Okay, Luke says, can you take a look at my team at 4? Yeah, let's go ahead and let's check out Luke's team. This is going to be the team at 4 that decided to start with Cooper Kupp. And I have not seen Deebo Samuel make it that far in quite some time. I mean, Deebo Samuel was making it there often back before he had his contract extension. But like the second he had his contract extension, then all of a sudden everybody was all in on just going through and pushing Deebo Samuel up draft boards. I mean, I think it honestly does make sense given how much money he's getting paid. But Josh Allen in the 3rd, I do not like the Allen in the 3rd pick. I'm not a massive fan of that Allen at pick 28. The McLaurin, Gabriel Davis. I mean, if you got Gabriel Davis about, 9 picks behind his ADP here, I guess maybe it's worth it. And then Josh Jacobs, 69. Dalton Schultz, 76. Kareem Hunt, 93. So at least you still ended up getting the double stack with that Josh Allen build. I just feel like I probably would be more excited about a Kyle Pitts or an A.J. Brown selection at 28. And then beyond that, Cordell Patterson, 117. I really like the Cordell Patterson value. Jalen Tolbert, 124. This is significantly behind his ADP. I'm not in love with Jalen Tolbert this year at cost, but I mean, I guess if you're getting this significant discount, it's going to be fine. And then looking at Tyler Algier, 141, that's kind of neutral. Okay, I will say this for a damn fact. I'm 100% sure with this. Please, in these private drafts, not in those tournament drafts on Underdog. In the tournament drafts on Underdog, I already showed last night that I do think it's a very good idea going out of your way, and it's a very good idea drafting Deshaun Watson where you can, given the upside that you have with the play. But with that being said, in these private drafts, we don't have the fantasy football playoffs at the very end. It's just who can score the most points throughout the season. So Deshaun Watson, especially on a team where you took 2 quarterbacks that early, is just a wasted pick. And I'm saying this with confidence as well. And this is coming from someone who's taken a lot of Watson in tournament drafts. This just isn't the spot to be drafting him. Okay, so let's think of who our last quarterback is going to be. Like, do we want running back here? I think we probably do go running back because it's not going to be the end of the world if we end up taking Carson Wentz in the last round. So let's go with a running back here at this selection and then get a quarterback with our last one. Yeah, so let's go Darrell Williams. And then we're going to queue up these quarterbacks. Let me set up a new private draft for everybody here. And of course, thank you all so much for hanging out with me so far in this live stream. Just give me 1 second. And let me see what this would be like. Okay. We are going to try a 14-team draft. Okay. We have a lot of people out here. I want to get as many people in this draft as I possibly can. And also, I've never done a 14-team draft on Underdog. So I think it will be very fun. So I'm sending out a link right now. It's going to say $10 draft here. And this is going to be a the 14-team draft on Underdog. Okay. Just sent that out. Derek out for the night. Thank you for coming out to the live stream, my man. You know, I appreciate you. Hopefully we get to see you tomorrow night. But let's see how many people come out here. Okay, it looks like everybody does want to join this 14-team league. It is officially filled. But happy that we were able to get 13 more people in here with us drafting. Okay, this is going to be real interesting, guys. A 14-team best ball draft. Let me see if I can adjust this window so you can even see all the teams. Yeah, we're going to have to be scrolling this around. Guys, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be really tough. Alexander says, pumped to finally draft with you. Thanks, man. No, thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us, man. I truly do appreciate it. But, oh, dear God, this is going to be... Guys, you have to change your overall draft strategy. It's not as easy as just go through and... Ooh, let me make sure I'm getting my last pick in on that other draft. But it's not as easy as just going and having a usual build. Like, you have to think... I don't want to give away my own strategies. I'll just say, do not draft as if this is a 12-team league. I've never done this, but if you just think through optimal roster construction and how this is going to change it, oh my gosh, it's going to be really interesting. Jonathan Taylor goes at 1. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what y'all are going to do. Christian McCaffrey 2. I guess in a 14-team league, you really need to be drafting for that high upside because you don't only have to beat 11 other teams. You got to beat 13 other teams here. So your expected win rate goes from about 8.5% down to 7.1%. So Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, looks like not too many adjustments at this point. Someone takes, thank you for your $10 donation. Like, I hope the giggles were worth it on your end. They take Henry Ruggs donating their $10 to the league pot. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so Jamar Chase goes at 6. Stephon Diggs at 7. Looks like not too many people are adjusting here. Like, I personally don't know what I'm going to do. This is stressful. This is very stressful here. Okay, running back's a no-brainer with either Dalvin Cook or Najee Harris. We're 100% taking a running back here at pick 12. Kit Kat Kid says, Mason, do you have a standing desk or a normal sitting desk? It's a standing desk. That's how I can do like videos from different angles. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Dalvin Cook at pick 12. This is a no-brainer. No-brainer selection to get Dalvin at 12. Lamb off the board at 13. Najee Harris off the board. Guys, I don't know what to do. I'm going to make a pick just because we're on the turn. I don't know how things are going to fall to us. We're going to go Allen at the 203. I don't even want to talk about it. Let's see what this draft room ends up doing. But if you go through and you just have some simple math in your mind, the supply and demand equation at the quarterback position is about to get wild. So I'm afraid that these quarterbacks are going to be sliding up draft boards here. And we'll see what happens. But as of now, looks like people are not following the lead. We're taking Josh Allen, and we are on an island here. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I played in a decent amount of 16-team, decent amount of 14-team Superflex leagues. Mark Andrews goes 22. So it looks like people are just drafting right now as this is a 12-team league. But I think people will realize by the time we get to about round 5 at the minimum, that this is not a 12-team league. Okay, that team is just hilarious. Hey, they can join every $10 draft that we have. They can join every single one. You are more than welcome to come on board. Mike Evans goes 25. Guys, if you are just now coming in, the reason we go Allen here in the second round is because we have no idea what to expect here at the end of the second with this being a 14-team best ball league. So let's see what ends up happening at about pick 40. We may make another play. Philip says, man is turning this into a 13-team league. Yeah, this is honestly probably going to mess us up a bit. Leonard Fournette, A.J. Brown, and Nick Chubb all off the board. So it looks like you do have those running backs going up, and with Nick Chubb going before T. Higgins in this draft. I guess actually A.J. Brown goes to the 214. Literally, people are just drafting as if 100% this is just a 12-team league. Michael Pittman goes at 30. It's really interesting that people are not adjusting here at all. This team has gone Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill through the first 2 rounds. I'm imagining we see a T. Higgins selection 25. Yeah, they go T. Higgins at pick 31 with an ADP of 25. I apologize. We misspoke there. Kyle says, when I click the link to a private draft, it sends me to the Google Play Store. Then I have to click Open Underdog. Is that normal? P.S. I'm here every night. Thank you, of course, my man, for coming out and hanging out with us every single night. I wish I could give insight, but I have an iPhone. I do not have whatever sends. I don't have an Android. I don't have what sends you to the Google Play Store. So I don't know. Please, someone else in the live chat that maybe has like a Samsung or has an Android that can give some insight on that situation, let me know. Okay, Kyle Pitts 34. NC4C on the clock. They went Stephon Diggs and Mark Andrews through the first 2 rounds. Let's go through. This is just the weirdest draft ever. Lamar Jackson goes 35. Herbert 36. See, I figured we were going to have these quarterbacks going off the board like at the beginning of the second and this was going to start a cascading effect of getting guys like Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts all pushed off. So that's why we inaccurately thought that we needed to go ahead and take Josh Allen in the second. But we are going to get value making it back to us. We probably make a play in the fourth that y'all really, really hate. Mike Williams goes 37. Okay, let's hope that we... Jalen Waddle goes off the board. So we ended up getting Waddle in the fourth round, of course, in the other draft, which was very exciting. DJ Moore gone. We don't have a single wide receiver yet. Let's go ahead. Let's take Courtland Sutton. If we don't take Sutton here, even though y'all know I'm not a massive Courtland Sutton guy, I feel like we may end up putting ourselves in a very difficult position. So let's take Sutton at pick 40 and see who comes back around to us at 45. Jerry Jeudy off the board, 43. James Conner. Yeah, let's go Travis Etienne. If we did not have that one team just turning this into a 13-team league instead of a 14-team league, I honestly would go Patrick Mahomes here. We would double tap the elite level quarterbacks. But because we have a team turning this into a 13-team draft instead of that 14-team, we got to go through. We got to adjust. It's a lot more regular than I assumed it was going to be. Cameron coming out says, love the content. Got a question. What's the knock on Christian Watson? Think he has arguably the most upside of any rookie wide receiver. So essentially the narrative centering around Christian Watson at this point is that in Green Bay, to mesh with Aaron Rodgers, you need to have the chemistry. I mean, we know what Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers were able to do over the past few years, where you're looking at Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams lining up in the line of scrimmage. Rodgers looks over at Adams. They see something in the coverage. They're able to make a quick audible and easy Davante Adams touchdown like that. Apparently, according to talking heads, that chemistry with Aaron Rodgers is way more important than any chemistry with any other quarterback ever. So when you have the injury with Christian Watson and he's not at training camp right now, people are going to be worried about that, and he is going to be sliding down fantasy football drafts. But I am personally buying the dip. I am buying the dip on a Christian Watson. And real quick, guys, of course, if you want to get into our next fantasy football draft, make sure you go to the link in the live chat. Sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. You'll get our 2022 rankings, our 2022 fantasy football draft guide, and you'll be able to have some fun with us. You'll be able to draft. Now we have Lynch going 52, so no big surprise here. J.K. Dobbins goes 53 in this draft. So far at this point, of course, if I could go back in the time machine, I 100% take Travis Etienne I take Javonte Williams or DeAndre Swift in the second. We take DeAndre Swift in the second instead of Josh Allen, and then we get Patrick Mahomes in the fourth. But we thought this was going to be a 14-team league until that one team just went through and punted all their picks. And now that it's not a 14-team league, I don't think we have to worry nearly as much about the quarterback position as you would otherwise. So Juju Smith-Schuster off the board here, pick 55. Stafford off the board, 56. Like I said, I thought that would have been normal to see these quarterbacks slide up in a 14-team draft. I don't think you have to slide these guys up because that team at pick 5 is just throwing their picks away. So like, it's good for us to see quarterbacks go that early, of course. And I think that's something maybe we would have come to expect if it was a true 14-team draft. But now that it's a 13-teamer, I don't necessarily think so. AJ says Team 5 had money to waste. Yeah, not mad at all because they just go through. They just donate to the league pot, of course, which is going to be nice. They're paying the rake for everyone. So Michael Thomas off the board, pick 58. Who's the best available according to ADP here? Hollywood Brown's still available. Dear God, I don't know if I've ever seen Michael Thomas this year go before Hollywood Brown. Very interesting here. This team on the clock that could come away with Hollywood, they take Jalen Hurts instead. Yeah, they take Jalen Hurts over Hollywood Brown. Antler Ice, I don't know. They take David Montgomery, pick 60. So these running backs are going off as well. Okay. I don't want to say too much. I have a plan. I definitely have a plan here at pick 68. Marker Word says he is swinging for the fences. Okay, so he goes Michael Thomas with the swing for the fences there at pick 58. You know Michael Thomas is my guy, man. Yeah, you know I'm not going to come out here and argue against that. Corvette says, in my opinion, the person not really drafting makes the draft less enjoyable. Yes, I think that as well. But if they would like to be able to select Adrian Peterson in the 5th round and then giggle to themselves, then they're allowed to do that. That's their right. Okay, so now Hollywood Brown goes pick 63. Drake London off the board as well. It's just so crazy to see Hollywood fall this far. Let's think through this. I guess wide receivers are going to be available late. Elijah Mitchell goes 65. Yeah, so you are seeing people decide to push these running backs up here. J-Dud's on the clock. They have 3 wide receivers and Kelsey, so they're only going to have to draft 1 more tight end. They go Godwin. We're going to take Kyler. We're going to take Kyler Murray. Obviously, we already have Allen. This is going to be a 14-team best ball format. I mean, I think that here we take Kyler. If you're going to look at the rest of the quarterback landscape, it is just going to be disgusting from here on out. We're getting Kyler after someone like Trey Lance. I think it will make sense that we'll go through and we'll take probably a wide receiver here at pick 73. Joe Burrow, 71. Russell Wilson, 72. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's, I guess, get Rashad Bateman. Just take 2 wide receivers I'm not a fan of at all to have some diversification. And guys, the reason I take Kyler Murray is because if you're going to look at the quarterbacks that are available to us on the way back around at like pick 96, we're going to have to take a second quarterback here almost regardless. And they're going to be disgusting. Like those quarterbacks are going to be disgusting. The quarterbacks at 96, we're probably going to be looking at, I don't even know if Kirk Cousins will be there. So let's take Kyler when we still have the chance. We'll grab the 2 elite level quarterbacks. I think that you would see this really, really play out if that team at 5 wasn't just throwing away their buy-in. Alex says, why didn't you take Rashad Bateman? Because if you look at Rashad Bateman, this is a wide receiver prospect that I did like coming out of college. But at the end of the day, he only had 1.3 yards per route run his rookie season. It was a very bad rookie year overall, not only from a fantasy points perspective, but from that efficiency perspective as well. It's going to be a very low volume passing attack there in Baltimore. So I think that there are a couple different reasons to not be that excited about Rashad Bateman this upcoming season. Now, if you wanted to be, sure, you can. If I just have to bet on someone in Baltimore, I'm going to bet on J.K. Dobbins when Dobbins has an ADP after Rashad Bateman. Like, Rashad Bateman goes before J.K. Dobbins in fantasy drafts. Okay, Griffin says, 15th pick, Diggs, Kelsey, or DeAndre Swift. I took Mixon at the 110. Okay, so I'm assuming this is going to be a casual fantasy football league, given the fact that, hell, Stephon Diggs still available at the 15th pick. This is definitely not an underdog draft. If it's going to be a 10-team fantasy football league where you start 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 flex, there I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Travis Kelce. If this is going to be, say, actually, no, this is a 12-team draft. So say this is going to be like a 12-team league where you can start up to 5 wide receivers, where it's like you start 3 wide receivers and you have 2 flex spots. There I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs. I'm never really taking DeAndre Swift at this point. It just comes down to how many wide receivers can be started on a week-to-week basis. And if it's a decent amount, then we go ahead and then we take Stephon Diggs. If not, we take Kelce. E-Money says, what do you think of my draft at 9? It's my first draft with you. Okay, let's go through. Let's check this draft out at 9. This draft starts Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Mike Williams, Justin Herbert at pick 48. Patrick Mahomes at pick 48. Love the Mahomes value you get. Like the Elijah Mitchell selection. Great value on Darnell Mooney. I really like your team. Love your team. I think, honestly, maybe got a little lucky to get Mahomes at 48. I think if this was a regular 14-team draft, I think he probably would be gone, but still. Now, played that perfectly. Of course, my man, great-looking roster. Okay. So after this, we have Allen Lazard, 85. Aaron Rodgers, 84. And Adam Thielen directly after. Real quick, guys, if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like in the live stream, subscribe to the channel. I'm assuming everybody watching this is already subscribed, so make sure you drop a like, get it recommended to someone else so we can hit 90,000 subs on the channel, and we do get that 24-hour live stream going before the season starts. Okay, Cousins goes 88. Yeah, guys, this is why we took Kyler Murray where we did. Like, imagine what would have happened if this was a draft where you didn't have a team taking Frank Gore here instead. Like, you had another team fighting over these quarterbacks. Okay, so let's slide this back around. Amon-Ra St. Brown still available here. So I guess, yeah, these running backs are definitely getting pushed up. I mean, we have at running back Dalvin and Travis Etienne. It's not like we're completely dead at running back. Miles Sanders goes 91. We probably take another receiver, if I'm going to be honest. How many rounds is this? 18 rounds. Okay. Just double checking. Hunter Renfrow goes 92. God, in this 14-team draft, people are not afraid to go and completely disregard ADP. Like, how the hell is Amon-Ra St. Brown falling this far? If we're getting Amon-Ra St. Brown at 61, I'm sorry, with an ADP of 61, I picked 96 here. That is ridiculous. We're probably going to double tap the wide receiver position on the way back around as well because we have Travis Etienne as well as Dalvin Cook. Like, I don't think we're dead at running back. I actually really like our team. Sky Moore 99. Yeah, so the people drafting just don't care about ADP. We're going to go ahead. We're going to get Kadarius Toney at 101. Guys, for a 14-team draft, I think we've crushed this. I think we would have done even better if it wasn't for that team at 5 throwing this off. But still, at quarterback, obviously, we are going to be the highest scoring team in the league every single week. Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. At running back, we had the combination of Dalvin Cook and Travis Etienne. Wide receiver, Sutton, Bateman, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Kadarius Toney. That is just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, Kareem Hunt off. So you do have some more of these running backs sliding up past ADP. Slide this down once you have Hunt going. Don't exactly know what we want. I guess, you know what we probably want to happen is we probably still need running backs making it back to us. It's not like we're sitting here going, oh, yeah, we're fine taking wide receivers every single round from here on out. I mean, I definitely like the wide receiver value that we got. But at one point, we're going to need to go through and take another running back outside of the combo of Dalvin Cook and Travis Etienne. K-Jack says, honestly, why are you so concerned with correlation? Why is that statistically significant? Okay, I have made an entire 20-minute video going through and showing the proof with large field data sets of why getting that correlation in is going to help you in fantasy football. you can go and search that video. You can just see it has Deebo Samuel and Trey Lance on the cover. But if you don't want to watch that entire video, what you can do is just hear me out on this. Think about it. Say you take Kyler Murray in a fantasy football draft. If Kyler Murray is indeed going to have a season that actually helps you win your fantasy football league, what has to happen? He probably has to be a top 5 passer in the NFL. He probably has to have, what? Let's call it 4,000 passing yards. He has to have a very good season. And if he has a very good season, it's more likely that DeAndre Hopkins has a very good season, that Rondale Moore has a very good season, that Zach Ertz has a very good season. So if you're already making that one bet on Kyler Murray, if you parlay a correlated bet on top of that, you just have to get less things right throughout the course of your entire draft. K-Jack says, it sounds like a win more, lose more strategy. 100%. That's what you should be doing in fantasy football. You don't want a bunch of teams finishing 6th. If you can get 25 to 30% of your teams finishing first, and you can do that over a very large sample with real money on the line, you're going to be one of the most profitable fantasy football players in the world. Now, Jordan coming out says, rate my draft so far. Full PPR 12 pick. We got Jamar Chase at 12, Aaron Jones 13, Travis Etienne 36, T. Higgins 37, Kyler in Hollywood. 10 out of 10. Great draft. No idea how the hell you managed to do that. Great draft, my friend. That's fantastic. Okay, so now let's move this back around. I'd imagine that at this point, what quarterbacks would be available? Fields, Tua. Of course, we can't take them. See what King View decides to do. He has Dak at quarterback, a running back, Kamara, Breece Hall, Tony Pollard. He goes Albert O here, 118. So these tight ends are really sliding upwards. Was there a piece of news with Albert O? This is like the 3rd straight draft. The 3rd straight draft. That I've seen him go this high. Penny off the board. Fields off the board. Let's go ahead. Let's get Cordell Patterson. I mean, if you're looking at the running back breakdown in this 14-team league, running backs are going to be a little bit harder to come by from those wide receivers. So I guess we will just take Patterson and then see what wide receiver makes it back around to us. Like, obviously, we would be fine with Rondale Moore on a Kyler Murray build. And honestly, guys, this draft is going way too slow. I'm going to just create a new draft for us. This 14-team draft was a horrible idea. It's going way too slow. I like our team so far, actually, considering it's a 14-team league. I'm going to finish this draft out on our phone, and I'm just going to start a new draft for us. Let me get a link to a 12-team draft, something that's going to go faster, something that's going to have a faster pace. This is going to be a $3 private draft on Underdog. So, of course, if you're wanting to draft with us, go to the link in the live chat. It is going to say $3 draft here. $3 draft here. But I apologize, guys. It's too slow for me. I'm used to just going nonstop, going 99 miles per hour in these live streams. If I'm sitting here and Carrick says, Mason, did you notice someone drafted Frank Gore? Yeah, that team went through. They were drafting like Henry Ruggs, Drew Brees. They were just wasting their entire draft. They just donated $10 to the league pot. Let's see what we end up getting. Okay, so we end up getting the 101. Let me just make sure on my phone I have that other draft pulled up so I'm not going to miss any picks. So we take Rondale Moore as our wide receiver 5 in that other draft. I think we did good in that other one. That's a funny message, Flippy. That's a funny verbiage. I think we probably just go ahead and lock in JT and then look for wide receivers on the 2-3 turn. Yeah. Let's lock in Jonathan Taylor. What's the report coming out? Not likely to play on Saturday. Thank God. Like, I was so pissed when I saw that Saquon Barkley was playing today. Like, there's just no reason for these guys to be out there. Now, of course, it's fun seeing them on the field. Like, 100%. You want to see them. We like having fun. But at the same time, like, in reality, how much better are the Giants going to be prepared for this upcoming season? Because you had Saquon Barkley out there for a drive. How much better are they going to be for the season? Okay, so Justin Jefferson going out there at 3. Oh dear says, Mason, what's up? I'm a bit late today, but you already know I'm staying like always. Thank you. I am happy to have you out here. Cooper Kupp goes at 4. Jamar Chase at 5. So a very standard draft through the first 7 picks here. I think really the only thing outside of ADP that we've seen through the first 7 picks is the swap of Stephon Diggs and Austin Eckler. And in a lot of these private drafts, people are going to go ahead. They are going to move up Stephon Diggs to 6. So that's not even that much of a surprise. Now we have Devontae Adams at 112. So I think that this is probably the furthest I've seen Devontae Adams fall all night, and probably the furthest I've seen him fall in a live stream in quite a while. Like, usually you have Devontae Adams like going in some of these drafts to pick 8, like going before guys like Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook. Deebo Samuel moves all the way up to 14. CeeDee Lamb at 15. This is probably the first draft that I've seen Deebo go before Lamb. But to be completely honest, like, should it just be 100% consensus across the board that CeeDee Lamb's a better pick than Deebo Samuel? Probably not. Maybe we are all in just an echo chamber saying, oh, yeah, no, Lamb's the easy pick over Deebo, yada, 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 because everybody else says it. Because if you think about it, hell, Deebo Samuel is a pretty young player. And at the same time, you're looking at Deebo Samuel as a wide receiver that was the wide receiver 3 on a points per game basis last year. Now, of course, there are real reasons to go ahead and to take CeeDee Lamb over him this season. I'm not saying you shouldn't take CeeDee Lamb over him this season. I will have Lamb ranked over him as well. But maybe we've gone a little bit too far for it to just be straight up consensus and not even a conversation between those two things. So now we have Alvin Kamara off the board here, pick 21. So I guess we are probably going to be looking at receiver here on the turn. I don't know. Let's see what these teams in front of us do. Maybe we end up coming away with a Fournette or a Nick Chubb. I honestly would prefer Nick Chubb over Leonard Fournette. So Evans. And let me see what we're doing in our other draft as well. The other draft we just took Irv Smith Jr. at tight end. We're going to go ahead. We're probably going to take Chark at wide receiver. So now we are on the clock here. I think Tyreek Hill is almost an auto pick. I was planning on going Nick Chubb over Leonard Fournette, but now that Leonard Fournette is available, like, I do want to say Fournette is in a tier above some of these other wide receivers. So let's just make the easy 2 selections. Let's go at the top of ADP here, and let's bring in Tyreek Hill and Leonard Fournette, even if we were planning on initially that being maybe like a Nick Chubb and an A.J. Brown selection. They're kind of the same thing, just flip the names. They're the same profiles. We have D. Lamy says, I'm old enough to remember when you were getting Alvin Kamara at the beginning of the 4th round. Yeah, guys, if y'all don't know, this is why you get into fantasy football drafts early. A couple months ago in the live stream, people were getting mad at us for drafting Alvin Kamara in the 4th round because they were screaming at us that he was going to be suspended. I used to be able to get Alvin Kamara in the 4th round. Wild. Now we have Mike Williams here at pick 31. Josh Allen 30. So no big surprises here outside of Kyle Pitts going at 28. So Kyle Pitts going at 28 is significantly above his ADP. But to be completely honest, I kind of think this is where Kyle Pitts should be going. Like, I don't think Kyle Pitts should be consistently going behind guys like Michael Pittman, Mike Williams. It doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense for that to be happening. Because we've tweeted it out. I've showed the receiving yards last season. You do have Kyle Pitts, in my opinion, as someone that has it in his range of outcomes to go out there and outscore those wide receivers, and you're getting him at the tight end position. So it's just an absolute no-brainer to go through to take Kyle Pitts there, even though, of course, if you're looking at ADP, that's not going to be something that you see very often. Now, DJ Moore off the board here at pick 36, Allen Robinson 35. Really like that DJ Moore value. Like, I understand Allen Robinson obviously has the better quarterback play. Allen Robinson at his peak has also put up better seasons than DJ Moore. But for the age DJ Moore is, and for the target share he's had over the past 3 years with the quarterback upgrade he's getting as well, like, DJ Moore at 36 is almost a no-brainer there. Same thing, Keenan Allen at 33. You are finding some really strong values in this draft. You have Jalen Waddle off the board at 39 to the same team that ended up getting CeeDee Lamb at pick 15. There are a lot of solid teams here. Boaz says, Mason, is there something wrong with Robert Tonyan? He just fell to the last round in one of my drafts. Hopefully not. I've been drafting a decent amount of Robert Tonyan this year after not taking him at all last year. I just think in general, the man's probably undervalued. If you're seeing him go in the last round of your draft, it was probably because the people in your draft went a little bit overboard thinking that, oh, okay, I can't draft a third tight end or it doesn't fit my roster construction. Maybe that's what it was. So I'd say in a vacuum, probably really want to go ahead and really want to take Robert Tonyan. I like him at his ADP, let alone you're getting him 2-3 picks after that. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Okay. So Breece Hall, pick 45. Sorry, 44. Jerry Jeudy, 45. Akers off the board. So it looks like we're going to grab an elite level quarterback. And after that, we're probably going to take another wide receiver, just considering the fact that we do have to start 3 here on a week-to-week basis. So let's take Lamar Jackson and Deontay Johnson. I used to be taking Patrick Mahomes here at the turn very often because it was much easier to be able to get Marquez Valdez-Scantling later on. It was much easier to also be able to come away with Sky Moore. But now they very rarely actually fall to the 8-9 turn for you. Usually they go in the middle of the 8th round. So it's harder to get the Patrick Mahomes stacks compared to what it used to be. So let's go Lamar Jackson, 49. Scuba Diver says, where does Malik Willis go now? Are you referring to in fantasy football drafts? My friend, Malik Willis does not go in fantasy. Like, no, maybe if you're talking dynasty fantasy football super flex, if you want to be encouraged based on what you saw today, I think nothing matters what you saw today. Ryan Tannehill is 100% the starter in Tennessee. Tannehill's going to be, in my opinion, 100% the starter the entire season. Okay, so we are on the clock in that other draft. Let's just go ahead and make sure we have our pick lined up real quick. I guess we probably go Fant to get our... No, yeah, let's go Fant to get our third tight end there. That's a stressful draft. What quarterbacks are available? Okay, interesting. Okay, but anyway, after we take Lamar Jackson, you do have a couple top-end running backs. Elijah Mitchell sneaks his way to 53. We've been able to get Elijah Mitchell in some of these drafts as of late as far back as the 7th round. So seeing him here obviously is going to be just a complete no thank you. Like, I am going to be passing on him in favor of some of the other wide receivers in a league where you have to start 3 of these guys. I was also going to say George Kittle, but I actually guess George Kittle went very early in this draft, much earlier than you would assume he goes. Kyler Murray went pick 57. Michael Thomas 58. So Michael Thomas does look like a consistent 5th round selection now. Michael Thomas in the 5th round maybe is something we should just come to expect in every draft. Okay, David Montgomery, 59. Brandon Cooks makes it all the way to pick 60. Brandon Cooks does have an ADP of 51, so this is a pretty far fall. This is the team that also got Devontae Adams at 12, Travis Kelce at 13. So a pretty interesting start for them through the first 6 rounds. I don't love the Ezekiel Elliott selection at 37, but I guess they want to go out of their way. They want to make sure that they are bringing in their running backs. You got Trey Lance at 62. And y'all know I've been a massive Trey Lance fanboy for God knows how long. Like, I've loved Trey Lance in fantasy. But now that you have Trey Lance as a quarterback that is going this far before Joe Burrow, like Joe Burrow is probably going to go in the middle of the 7th round here. All of a sudden, I am no longer the number one fanboy of Trey Lance. Trey Lance in this draft goes before Jalen Hurts. Like, I think people probably have gone a little bit too far. I know that they're going to go out of their way. They are going to get the double stack there with Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Trey Lance. I see why they're doing it, but still, at the same time, it seems so tough to pay that kind of premium over those other quarterbacks. AJ says, like my Trey Lance, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle, Stack Mason, you pay too much for it. I think you pay too much. Across the board, you reached on Deebo, you reached on Kittle, and you reached on Lance. I like the stack in a vacuum, just not at that price point. Jalen Hurts makes it all the way down to pick 69. I would have been ecstatic to get Jalen Hurts on the way back around to us. Pick 72. So it looks like wide receivers are going to be by far and away the best value available. We already have Jonathan Taylor, Leonard Fournette at running back, so we're completely fine just grabbing wide receiver value here. Question does come down to exactly who are we taking. You have Drake London off the board, 70. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, we are going to take the combination Adam Thielen as well as Brandon Ayuk. I think DeAndre Hopkins is very appealing in that league where you have the fantasy football playoffs, but here you don't have the fantasy football playoffs. So for him to miss the first 6 weeks of the season is going to be very detrimental. It's going to be very hard to overcome that in the case of a DeAndre Hopkins. So let's pass on him. I honestly probably want to take DeAndre Hopkins for another couple of rounds. Like if DeAndre Hopkins was sitting there pick 96 in this format, I probably would consider it, but it still wouldn't be like a no-brainer selection at that point. Okay. Let's go through. Sorry, I'm checking that other draft to see where we are at this point. Mark Ward says, I was looking at Jameson Williams still being available in that other draft. That is pretty crazy. But Christian Kirk goes here, pick 76. I don't even know what we want. Like, we are such a balanced team. I think we check a lot of boxes across the board here with what we're looking at running back, at wide receiver, and at quarterback. So I'd say, I really want to see a lot of wide receivers go off the board. We already have 4 on our team. But at the same time, like, we can still bring more of these guys in. And beyond that, like, I think we're just in a very good spot. So let's not overthink anything. In terms of what we're wanting, let's just stay flexible and let the draft come to us. Because as I said, we are in a pretty good spot overall. Now, Russell Wilson goes 83. Trey Lance goes 62. Cam says, Mason, check my team. It's the best in the league. I'm assuming you're talking about the 14-team league. I'm assuming it's great, my man. Now, Gibson off the board here at 84. I don't know what I would do here. I guess. Okay, we're on the clock in that 14-team draft, which is crazy because we are only in the 15th round. However, we are on pick 208. So we're going to get Tyrion Davis-Price at pick 208. We just need another running back. And we have Dak Prescott off the board. Okay, so we have, in my opinion, probably the best players off the board here over the course of 3 selections. Actually, never mind. James Cook goes there at pick 86. I like James Cook in a vacuum, but this goes back to I like the player. I just don't like the price tag that you're getting here with James Cook. I mean, you have a similar receiving skill set with Pollard in Dallas. However, Tony Pollard does have the upside if Ezekiel Elliott were to go down to handle a 3-down workload, where James Cook doesn't necessarily have the size to be able to do that, even if it were to occur. So I hate taking Cook over Tony Pollard here, especially in another draft. If you wanted to get James Cook later, you could get James Cook after pick 100 in another draft. Let's just go in that 14-team draft. We need to make a couple more selections. Okay, we're going to take Jamison Crowder, pick 213. Sky Moore off the board at 91. This is what I was talking about earlier, like when we decided to take Lamar Jackson over Patrick Mahomes. I'm fine not having Lamar Jackson stacked up because you are betting on the Lamar Jackson rushing upside. And I used to take Mahomes because you used to be able to get Sky Moore. You used to be able to get Marquez Valdez-Scantling there at the end of the 8th, the beginning of the 9th. But those guys don't make it anymore. It just never does. They never do. Ramondre Stevenson off the board there at 93. If we were to get, I don't want to say anything. Yeah, we end up getting Tom Brady making it back to us here. Pick 96. So in a best ball format, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Brady. I think that we could go ahead. I think that we could reach on a Russell Gage if we wanted to. But at the end of the day, we can still get Julio Jones on the way back around. If we don't get Julio Jones, hell, we already have Leonard Fournette to be able to get those targets out of the backfield in that correlation. So let's take Treylon Burks here instead of pick 97. We're going to get Treylon Burks as our wide receiver 5. I definitely prefer Burks in a format where you have the fantasy football playoffs, where we are incentivized to have that back half production as our number one priority. But still, it's Treylon Burks 97. We've been drafting him here all offseason every time he falls. So let's not stop anytime soon. Let's go ahead. Let's take Treylon Burks. Now we have Matthew Stafford, pick 99. Okay, at this point, Kenneth Walker. So Walker, is he officially going before Penny now? Like, it's crazy how people just flip back and forth, and have no consistency throughout the entire offseason. Like, this is how it was after the NFL draft. You had Kenneth Walker as the running back 1 in Seattle. And then, like, all of a sudden you get training camp reports, oh, Penny's going to be the starter, because that's what they say about veteran players, what we've been talking about all offseason. And then you have Kenneth Walker plummeting to the 10-11 turn and Rashad Penny skyrocketing up to being an 8th round pick. But it looks like people are now realizing, hell, maybe Rashad Penny can't stay healthy. Maybe there's a reason they drafted Kenneth Walker inside the top 40 picks. Okay, so we have Rondale Moore, 105. Aaron Rodgers, 104. Jackson says, thoughts on my team from the 6th spot. Let's go through and let's check out Jackson's team from 6. As Stephon Diggs in the 1st, Javonte Williams in the 2nd. Javonte in the 2nd is intriguing. I would say based on the updated reports that we're getting about the legal situation for Alvin Kamara, you probably need to take Alvin Kamara over Javonte Williams. But, I mean, I do understand why you want it. Like, I understand why you would want to go through and just take, I don't know. Beyond that, Josh Allen at pick 30, just going to go through and get that stack in there with Stephon Diggs. I feel like when you take Stephon Diggs in the 1st, you almost have to just commit yourself to making this pick. Then Terry McLaurin, 43, Gabriel Davis, 54. So great double stack there with Josh Allen and Gabriel Davis, about 12 picks beyond his ADP. And then you're getting Amari Cooper at 67. Don't love the value with Amari if we're not going to be incentivized to get the production in the back half of the season. I guess you can't even take Jalen Hurts there when you have Josh Allen. Hopkins, 78, very similar. I would really like the combination of Amari Cooper and DeAndre Hopkins if we had the fantasy football playoffs here. But because we don't have the playoffs and it's just who can score the most points through the course of the season, I think that's not as appealing. Dallas Goedert, 91. Damian Harris, 102. Interesting. Honestly, my man, I love what you did through the first 5 rounds. But beyond that, I think it would be very good for a different format than the one we're playing in. Because remember, this is a private draft. It's just going to be cumulative scoring weeks 1 through 17. Okay, sorry. We are on the clock in another league. Let's go ahead. We just need to take running backs at this point. So we have Dawson Knox and Zach Ertz going off the board here. 111, 112. Presumably pushing down value to us. Now, there are 3 guys left in the tier. But I guess we took Tom Brady, so we're also including Julio Jones. So I guess 4 guys that we want to make it back to us. We are up in 5 picks, so we don't exactly know if we are going to get these guys. Julio Jones goes at 115, so we aren't going to get that Julio stack with Brady. But as we already discussed, whenever we had Leonard Fournette paired up with Tom Brady, I don't think the stack's going to be that important. We got Tom Brady at a massive value there, pick 96. Tyler Boyd goes off the board 116. Really do like that Tyler Boyd selection on 116. I mean, I think Boyd's is being drafted closer to his floor than his actual ceiling. Okay, are we last pick in that other draft? Let's just go ahead and take David Bell. I think for a 14-team draft, I actually really like our other league. But anyway, so now you have Melvin Gordon, Russell Gage. All those guys that we wanted are off the board. We can't take Kirk Cousins, of course. We are put in a very difficult position. I think we go ahead. I think that we just take some of these rookie running backs. We're going to take the combination of Rashad White and Dameon Pierce. I think that we are just going to be soaking up a ridiculous amount of targets out of that Tampa Bay Buccaneers backfield with a double stack of running backs with Tom Brady here, which is a very interesting build. But let's go through and show this draft off. And guys, I'm very sorry. I am literally about to fall asleep. I am exhausted. We did over a 4-hour live stream last night. I recorded multiple videos today. So I probably am going to have to go ahead, cut this stream at 3 hours here. But we still did get, I think, 5-6 drafts underway. But thank you so much for being a part of the flock. You know I appreciate you. And I really want to see you out with the live stream tomorrow. I really want to see you drafting tomorrow. So I have to end this. I have to make sure that we have the energy to go tomorrow night because I do want to go every single night for y'all until the season starts. So please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like in the live stream, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to join our next draft, which we will have drafts tomorrow night, the night after that, the night after that, the night after that, I will send a link out in the live chat right now for Underdog Fantasy. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. And when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You'll get our 2022 rankings. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football draft guide. But thank you guys. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a great night. And I hope we get you out with the live stream tomorrow night.